greatest rebound and rebuild with a championship.
If you're going to war and I'm coaching, I'm taking these guys.
Baylor, kings of college basketball, #1 in the land, and the trophy is coming to Waco.
Baylor, one of the great turnarounds in college athletics history, national champions in year 18 for Scott Drew.
Our fans that have been with us for the lean years, the good years, and our administration, President Livingstone, Mac Rhodes, they all deserve this. The city of Waco deserves this. Hey, Texas, we got a national championship too. The state deserves it.
Did I stutter? He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
The 2011 winner of the Heisman Trophy is Robert Griffin III, RG3!
Welcome to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Langoliers, base hit to center, and the Baylor Bears win their first Big 12 tournament championship.
Their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Yep, just ready for OU.
You can't handle the truth.
Here's Drake Toll.
And welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den, to myself, to Armstrong Sims, to Marquise Cooley, Jack McKenzie, and Andrew Robertson. Happy Monday, everybody. We're back. Guess who's back? Back again in Waco, Texas. Myself and our good buddy Armstrong Sims recapping a ton of stuff today in Baylor sports. Baylor men's tennis falling in the national championship. Baylor baseball, 3-game series against Oklahoma, falling in 2 out of 3 in that one in Waco. Softball in Gainesville, that in the Florida Regional, shot for the College World Series on the line. Step 1, you got to win the first one to get to that one. They fell 2-0 and 5-0 in 2 games. Golf, did you guys see the major news in golf over the weekend? Anybody else see the big thing that happened in golf? I don't know. I'm not getting a lot of feedback here, but there was some stuff that happened in golf this past weekend.
Are you talking about Lady Bears golf?
I am talking about Lady Bears golf. The biggest golf news in the country this weekend, where Baylor, who shot 20 over in their first round, shot 2 over. They improved by 15 strokes in round 2, shot 2 over in the final round. Baylor women's golf right now is 13th in the nation in the national championship meet. If the women's golf team can move up to 8th today in round 4, Baylor will make the match play championship, be able to compete for a national championship, and possibly win it all. So the top 8 teams out of the championship tournament all make it to that point. Baylor sits at 13th right now, trying to improve that today after a really poor first round. They've shot well the last couple of rounds, and they've got the last round today. Baseball over the weekend, we just talked about it. They lost 2 out of 3 against Oklahoma, 9-5 final score on Thursday, last Thursday. You get into Friday's game. I didn't know if Baylor would be able to sweep just because Baylor, they haven't swept anybody yet this year. They're a team that's built to take 2 out of 3. They struggled against Oklahoma State. You thought, okay, they should win the series against Oklahoma, but can they sweep? They lose game 1, 9-5. Game 2, they win game 1, 9-5. Game 2, they lose 10-6. Game 3, 6-5, right? 6-5, bottom of the 9th. Baylor's down by 1. Before this, it had been 6-1. Davion Downey, I'm pretty sure he had like a bases clearing double. We get us winning 6-5, bottom 9. Jared McKenzie comes up first batter of the inning. He lines one. He's got a pretty solid single, okay? Next couple guys who get up, I think one of them strikes out, one of them grounds out. McKenzie moves over to second. Somebody's on second base. I think it's Jared McKenzie. Andy Thomas comes to the plate, the senior, the team leader in home runs. Bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, Jared McKenzie on second, 1-run ball game. Baylor down 6-5, 3-2 count. And I'm pretty sure he just lined it out to the second baseman. Baylor fell 6-5 in Game 3 on Sunday and dropped the series overall 2 out of 3 games to Oklahoma over the course of the weekend. Big 12 baseball standings now, you got Baylor at 6th We were talking about Baylor possibly being in third place this time last week, this time 2 weeks ago. After the series victory against Texas Tech, they had a shot to bolster that against Oklahoma State. They lost the series. People were ready. A college baseball analyst came on this show and said Baylor could go 6-0 in their last 2 series. Baylor could go 5-1 in their last 2 series. And you talk about getting hot at the right time. Baylor slumped a little bit and a lot more than we expected. 2-4 across Oklahoma and Oklahoma State as they round out their season. Softball, we talked about the 2-0 loss to South Alabama. The offense couldn't produce. You thought, okay, they're coming back against the 4-seed South Florida. The offense will produce in that one. And no. Baylor loses again. They get no hit against South Florida. 5-0 was the final score in that one. The Lady Bears fall. Outside of that, we talked about golf, softball, baseball. The NBA playoffs are going on, and I don't care at all, frankly. I didn't watch a single NBA game. I probably won't watch a single NBA game. The NHL, those playoffs are going on. Didn't watch any of those. I mean, I'm fine with hockey, but I did not watch any hockey. Phil Mickelson won. That was a big deal. A lot of folks are excited about that. But I was glued to Baylor sports over the past weekend. One of the reasons why, Michael Woodson and the boys. The Baylor men's tennis team competed for a national championship over the weekend. I've got a problem. Call us, 254-339-1122. Give us a call, text us, call us, 254-339-1122. I've got a problem with the fact that Baylor men's tennis played TCU last week on Thursday in the national quarterfinal. So Elite Eight comes around. Baylor, TCU, teams that have met multiple times this year. You know it's going to be a hard-fought match. It's tough to beat a team 3 times. Baylor finds a way. Baylor gets it done against TCU. What do they have to do? They've got to come back the next day. Reason with me here. Golf matches go somewhere between 2.5, 3 hours. I mean, you're talking a lot of, I don't know if any golf. Tennis. I don't know if you've ever played tennis at a remotely competitive level, but it is tough. There's wear and tear on the body. You go day 1, play a match, full match, 2.5, 3 hours. Day 2, the next day, you come back and you do it all over again. I know, folks make the argument they're collegiate caliber athletes and they should be able to recover and make it and blah, blah, blah. I don't care who you are. If you're playing an entire tennis match, coming back and doing the same thing the next day, well, then you win that in the Final Four. Mind you, the Tennessee match goes 3 hours plus, 4-2 final. Tight. I mean, it was a close, tight match for the whole thing. Baylor loses the doubles point, has to climb back in the singles to knock off Tennessee. Florida pretty much rolls through Texas, 4-0. I mean, it was decently competitive, but Florida didn't have to strain that much against Texas. Get to the national championship, you're looking at 3 straight days these guys have competed. Then, on top of that, they're scheduled for 6:30. They don't start until around 9 o'clock because the women's tournament, the women's tournament was going on before the men's, goes really, really long between Pepperdine and Texas. So now you got the wear and tear, and now you're not starting a match until 10 p.m. local time, the night of the national championship. And I get it. Tennis is not a revenue sport, but it makes no sense to me how you're going to have those guys go toe-to-toe 3 days straight and expect them to be at national championship caliber. Now, even worse than that, yesterday taking place, the doubles championship, the singles championship, those brackets open up as well. You're telling me the best competition in the country, the best team competition in the country, Baylor, Florida, those guys, their doubles and singles teams are now competing in individual championships. They've got to go straight from playing in the national championship to playing the introductory rounds of that tournament. There's no way that's safe. When you're playing 7 straight days of competitive tennis, I was texting someone in the tennis circuit. I have friends in the tennis circuit now. I know. It feels kind of cool. I was texting some friends in the tennis circuit, and it's like, hey, this is dangerous. I mean, these guys have gone the length for now 5 straight days, a lot of them. Adrian Boitan, Matias Soto being 2 of those for Baylor who have seen that. And, it's just not safe. It's not safe to do that to athletes, and it's a college game. The revenue might not be a revenue sport. That doesn't mean you pit guys playing 7 days straight. Joining the show today to help us talk about tennis, though, Sam Gore. I don't know. So if you guys watched the match on Saturday. You heard Sam Gore, who is the broadcaster. He's ESPN's A1 guy when it comes to tennis broadcasting. And he was on the call on Saturday. We'll be joined at 12 o'clock by Michael Woodson, the head tennis coach at Baylor University. We'll be joined at 1 o'clock by Matthew Poston to talk more about Matthew Meyer, Jared Butler, and the situation with those guys from a national analyst perspective. And then at 1:30, Alex Gruskin joins the show. He is a national tennis analyst. Call line is open, 254-339-1122. T-Rex, I know you're out there. I know you're in Orlando. We got to pick your brain today, hopefully. You may be on a flight. And then Stephen from Virginia lost 40 pounds, I saw on Twitter this morning. Yeah, 40 pounds. A-Rob, did you get to watch tennis this week?
You lost 40 pounds this morning?
Yeah.
All of it?
He got his gallbladder removed. He got his gallbladder removed, and that thing was a chunk.
Bro, a 40-pound gallbladder,
That's a hell of a gallbladder.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's one of the worst.
Nice.
Hey, Rob, did you get to watch the men's tennis championship this weekend?
My plan was to watch it, but it started much later than I anticipated, so I was unable to watch. But rest assured, I was following along through the live stats application on Twitter, and after we won the doubles point, I thought, pack it up. It's over. We got this. I mean, Baylor, when they win the doubles point, has won every match that I've seen. When we start quick like that, we win. And our singles really was our strong suit after we lost the doubles point and, won 4 straight in singles versus Tennessee. I honestly watched the doubles go 1-0 us, and I was like, we got this. I checked back, and it was heartbreaking. So I didn't get to watch it, but I was following along, and it ruined my night.
Armstrong, did you get to watch the men's tennis national championship over this weekend?
I did not. I did not watch it, so I'm sorry about that.
To be fair, I don't think my TV gets the tennis channel. We get like 8 channels.
Mine definitely does, though.
Oh.
I have watched the tennis channel before.
So you have no excuse.
Why have you watched the tennis channel before?
I like tennis.
Really? And you didn't watch this weekend?
No, I exclusively pro tennis.
Wow.
Actually, no, I just watched, nothing.
Oh my gosh, you didn't have a way to replace it. I will say, this time last year, I didn't have much of an affinity for tennis. I didn't watch tennis. I didn't care about tennis. I wouldn't have put it on my TV, whether it was a national championship or an introductory match between Baylor and SMU. I probably wouldn't have gone. But since getting wrapped up and just infatuated with Baylor men's tennis, with Michael Woodson, what he's put together with his staff, Isaac, come on. I mean, and you go down the list of guys that have been on the show and that have joined the show that have talked to us about their season and the dream year they've had between Spencer Furman and Konstantin Franzen and Charlie Broom. I mean, that list goes on and on and on. I now have an affinity for tennis and what those guys have built. I tweeted this thing out. And it's crazy the circumstances that Michael Woodson has really been thrown into as the head coach at Baylor tennis. I mean, obviously that entire situation with Coach Brian Boland was not ideal. You got to remember that folks had to deal with that on the front end of this, where Brian Boland was let go of his job early on in the season. I mean, this team was playing without the coach that they expected to start as the head coach going into the year. Then you got Michael Woodson, who's named the interim head coach. He doesn't get the head coaching nod, which I don't understand. It took such a long time. They had to win the Big 12 championship in Waco for Michael Woodson to be able to get the men's coach nod, to be able to have the full-time coach nod. Do I think he would have got it anyway? I do. But the fact they waited so long, I think was tough. I mean, with Michael Woodson, it's like you knew that Woodson was going to get that nod. He ended up getting it. But that guy, you look at what he's been able to do in this program, with a group of guys that thought this season will be started with a different head coach. Then you have an interim, then Michael Woodson's named the head coach. They fought through that to go all the way to the national championship. I mean, this is a team that it's hard not to fall in love with, considering the personalities on the squad, Michael Woodson, what he's brought to the game, and really everything they've been able to put together in their success this season. I think I tweeted it. Baylor men's tennis has been on the map, but I feel as though they gained a lot of fans this past weekend that probably wouldn't have watched tennis this time last year.
I completely agree. I would never have even considered following along with Baylor tennis. And speaking of Twitter, I mean, I saw you got retweeted by the main account. That's a pretty big deal. You got retweeted by the Baylor men's tennis account. I mean, you're basically like a real media figure at this point.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's like a verification in my mind.
Is that how you make it?
I think that's how you make it with the Baylor men's tennis community.
My Twitter header name is newly diehard tennis connoisseur Drake Toll, and the fact that they retweeted me and that's my Twitter name is something so long and convoluted. Yeah, shout out to those guys. Also, Baseball America has dropped their new top 25 in college baseball. Baylor not included on there.
Shocking.
Also, yeah, no Oklahoma either. So Baylor lost a series to an OU team that is not ranked. So, and will not be ranked, and that's pretty expected.
Are we still going to make the postseason?
Baylor's a bubble team right now. College baseball RPI is updated decently frequently, but that's probably what's going to come down to. There are more metrics right now. There are more metrics in baseball than just the RPI, whereas in softball, RPI is pretty big. If you're looking RPI right now, Baylor's at 40. So
top 64, is that?
No, you're looking at conference champions are going to take a big chunk of those from different conferences. So Baylor's in the running with teams like Alabama, Campbell, Indiana State, Northeastern, UCLA, North Carolina State, Arizona State.
So not a guarantee by any stretch.
Not a guarantee right now for Baylor to be in the postseason. They're going to probably be crossing their fingers, dotting their I's.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I from what I heard, if we would have swept OU, we would have basically been in. So that's tough.
Oh yeah, that would have been a lock to put Baylor in. Also, Fairfield is number 2 in the nation in RPI. Fairfield from the MAAC conference, 33-1 this year in conference play. 35-1 overall.
They've lost one game?
They've lost one game. Fairfield. The Fairfield baseball team, number 2 in the RPI. They're not ranked.
That's hard to do.
That I can find. Yeah, that is very hard to do. But I don't think so. That's your kind of RPI perspective, knowing RPI is not going to be the one thing they look at. Outside of all of that going on, I do want to touch on men's tennis, though, and say congratulations to those guys for making it as far as they did. There were a lot of players that came on our show or local shows and said, hey, it's national championship or bust. Is it appropriate to say that no matter what? That's something that I was having a thought of. If someone says, hey, national championship or bust, is that an appropriate thing to say? And then if you lose, because obviously if you lose a national championship match, game, you're still going to be freaking pumped. You're going to be excited no matter what sport or where you are. So is it cliche or appropriate to say, hey, national championship or bust, when that should, I would say, should never be true? It should never be national championship or your season's a bust, right?
I mean, they were ranked number 1 for the majority of the season. I don't think it's inappropriate.
They weren't ranked number 1 until the last 3 weeks.
For me, that was the entire season. So
yeah, that's true.
I thought they were number 1 the entire year. I don't think it's inappropriate. It's probably unfair to the team, but I mean, as a sports fan, that's kind of where my head goes. If we're ranked number 1 at the end of the season, we're trending upwards. I'm like, you know what? National championship or bust. I want to win it all. Why go this far just to go this far?
Does it feel like since they lost that it's bust, though? I mean, a team goes to national championship match, and you lose it.
Well, they're not excited, I can tell you that.
You don't think so?
You said
the boys are not buzzing.
You lose in the championship, and you should still be ecstatic.
No.
That's not happening right
Absolutely not.
Well, you should be excited. You
They're
should be
not
excited that you played all the way to the championship.
Excited.
No.
Not excited that you lost, but you wake up the next morning, the next week, and you're like, wow, I'm so excited that I got that experience and that we played for a national championship.
That is way too optimistic.
No. Really?
If I went to the national championship and lost, which I haven't done yet, but perhaps in the future, I would be very down in the dumps for the foreseeable future.
Wow. See, I just think those guys are so positive. Maybe that's a Baylor thing in general, how positive people are around here, but I just don't see them really being so down on the fact that they played in the national championship match and lost. Yeah, it stings and it sucks and that's not ideal, but is that bust? Is that bust?
It's not bust, but they're not going to be happy. I mean, these guys are going to be. If I were them, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be upset. Armstrong.
Yeah, I'd be upset.
Yeah, of course. How would you?
I might, in a year, look back and say, "Wow, what a ride!" But I'm still going to be excited about that.
Yeah, not in a week. In a week, it's still fresh. It stings. Plus, how many of these players get to come back? How much of this team is going to be retained?
Yeah, most of this team's out the door.
Right, so that's even worse.
Most of this team, that is worse. However, the team got to play together longer than any other team in the country outside of Florida. They in Florida got to play together as long as anybody can possibly play together in the entire nation. Baylor was in the national championship. You made it that far. Obviously, you want to win. Florida's number 1 overall seed. Florida was supposed to win. They were projected to win. You win the doubles point. Baylor came out hot, firing in the singles point. I tweeted it out in football terms for those that don't understand tennis that much, because today's a big tennis show. That way, it was 10-0 Baylor early. Baylor really came out and just punched Florida in the mouth in the doubles. Baylor punched Florida in the mouth in the singles pretty early on. And then after that, it went from Baylor 10-0 to, oh man, now we're tied at 14. Now Florida's up 21. And then in a matter of moments, it went from 14-14 Baylor and Florida, tennis to football terms, to 38-14 Florida on top of Baylor. It's stacked on. You could tell, and I couldn't, with the broadcast, you can only see one of the courts, but you could tell the fact that Baylor played such a tight, long, contested match the day before against Tennessee was tough. Again, you're asking these guys, in college basketball, what if they said, hey, you're going to play the Elite Eight on Tuesday, you're going to play the Final Four on Wednesday, you're going to play the National Championship on Thursday. How would you feel?
I probably feel pretty tired by the National Championship. I don't know. I think it's a little different, but not. These guys have to play doubles and singles. That's a lot. So, I assume they've been doing that all year, so they're probably kind of accustomed to it. Have they been playing matches like that the entire year? Yes, no?
Yeah. No, not consecutive days.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems a little. It seems like between the semifinals and finals, there should be at least one day. Right. Give everyone a little bit of time to chill. It seems like Florida had an advantage if they won 4-0 and were able to go to bed all sleepy. Yeah. And Baylor had to play until the break of dawn with Tennessee. So.
Yeah, that's true. Florida did go to bed all sleepy. What a great way to put that. What an astute observation.
It's great radio right
Robertson. And so for me, it's in basketball, you can sit. Somebody can sub in. You can play 28 minutes in a game. You played most of the game still. You have 40-minute game. 28's pretty standard, 28-30. In tennis, you can't. There's no point where you're like, hey, guys, I need a break. Let's somebody else. Let's go sub us in. You're playing a singles match that can take 2 hours. That you alone are competing by yourself. After you could have already gone through your doubles match for a half hour, you're competing alone for 2 hours in singles match. And you do that 3 days straight, and the NCAA is asking athletes to do that, be okay with it. It doesn't make, and again, it is not a revenue sport, but does that make any sense to anybody that they have to play 3 straight days, that kind of physical exertion?
No, probably not. It's not a sport like baseball where they can play, 4 days in a row. It doesn't make any sense to me. I agree. I don't know. If I was on the committee, I'd vote against it. I'm not. So I can't. But if I was, I would vote against it.
I can fix that. We can find a way.
You're already you have guys on the inside apparently for tennis.
I have tennis guys on the inside.
So
I woke up this morning and felt good knowing that having tennis guys on the inside is just a different animal.
Just a phone call away.
Like I said, it's just a year ago. I would not have given a rat's butt about Twitter.
About Twitter the whole wow.
Sorry, that's a Mike Gundy quote. That's a Mike Gundy quote. I would not have cared about tennis a year ago. But with Michael Woodson, these players, this team, all the way to the national championship game, I love it. I love tennis. I love what I've been able to be in. I'm now infatuated with tennis thanks to Baylor coming out, going to a national championship, doing it the right way. Everyone talks about the right way. Michael Woodson coming on the show. I fell in love with tennis thanks to Baylor men's tennis this year, because 2 years ago, I would have paid $10 to not go to a full tennis match. And now I will pay $100. I would have paid a good portion of money if it was feasible to go to that national championship match that had a great atmosphere too. Just because Baylor tennis has put, I think, a lot of tennis fans onto the sport.
It's not over yet either, right? There's still guys competing. Our singles and doubles guys, right, for the national championships?
Yes.
And those respectively?
Yes.
Yeah, so, keep watching. These guys can win an individual title.
Individual national, right. So you got Adrian Boitan and some guy named Broska. Boitan's the number 21 player in the country. Broska's 48. That is today at 1 p.m. And then Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law, Those two guys play against Moore and Stewart. That's number 9 doubles versus number 21 doubles today at 5:30. So Boyton and Broska, Franzen and Law, those take place later this afternoon. Again, 1 p.m. Central Time, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Elsewhere this week, Baylor baseball, Wednesday, 9 a.m. We'll be joined by Coach Strauss tomorrow at 12:05 to talk some baseball. We're going to talk a lot of baseball this week as we go into postseason play for Baylor baseball, and they are right on the bubble. They are right on the bubble, trying to find their way into the national championship competition discussion. I'd like to remind you the first hour of SicEm365's Up-Tempo is brought to you by Banson Business Services. Owned by Baylor grad and SicEm365 premium member Jonathan Green, Banson Business Services offers a full suite of business support and financial services. Banson specializes in bookkeeping, payroll, outsourced CFO services, and consulting. They can even help you with your taxes. Their business helps you run your business. Visit SicEm365.com/Banson for more information. All right, when we come back, I don't know if you guys watched the men's national championship in tennis over the weekend. I sure did. I was glued to my TV, screaming a ton at the TV, hoping Baylor was going to win it. They won the doubles point, started hot in the singles point, and in the end, Florida just had too much firepower. The head coach's son, the freshman for Florida, won them the national championship in Orlando. But again, I was turned on to tennis. I was really excited about watching tennis and glad that I had the Tennis Channel on my cable package this past weekend. Another reason I was glad is the guy that's joining the show next, Sam Gore. He is the guy. When it comes to tennis, if you're turning on a tennis match, you're probably hearing his voice, and that was the case between Baylor and Florida in that match on Saturday. He called a lot of these matches. He got to see Baylor play a lot over the course of the last week. Sam Gore, national tennis analyst, he's the lead broadcaster for ESPN in tennis, and he joins us next to talk Baylor, Florida, the atmosphere in Orlando, and what made this Baylor team special. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're joined by ESPN tennis analyst Sam Gore. This, Drake Toll, Armstrong, Sims, Andrew Robertson, Jack McKenzie, and Marquise Cooley, is Up-Tempo.
Just steps away from glory, the Baylor men's tennis team came up just short in the national championship match on Saturday with a 4-1 loss to the number 1 seed Florida Gators. Despite winning the doubles point in convincing fashion, Florida took advantage late in the singles competition to secure the program's first win in history. Michael Woodson and company end their season with a program record 34 wins and a national runner-up finish. In baseball, Baylor took Game 1 9-5 against Oklahoma, but lost the series to the Sooners after a 10-6 and 6-5 finish on Friday and Saturday. It was a muggy weekend in Waco where both teams fought off rain on multiple occasions, and Baylor couldn't seem to find its stride offensively down the stretch. The Bears finished the regular season 31-18 and 11-13 in Big 12 play as they head to the conference tournament as a 6th seed to meet Texas Tech in round 1 in Bricktown on Wednesday. The Baylor softball team saw its season end over the weekend with an 0-2 performance in the Gainesville Regional. The team fell 2-0 in a tight pitcher's duel on Friday and finished on the wrong end of a 5-0 score Saturday as South Florida no-hit Baylor. The team finishes 27-23 on the year for the program's 14th NCAA postseason bid. In golf, the Lady Bears are past the third round and climbing with a 2/290 in the third round. The squad currently sits in 13th place overall at the NCAA Championships. The Lady Bears must move into 8th place or better in today's final round to advance to match play. And a couple of individual tennis players are in action in the singles and doubles championships in Orlando, as Adrian Boyton and the duo of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law play today. Also, guess who's back? Yeah, it's me, Armstrong. And Phil Mickelson won that thing, which was so awesome. Back from the dead, I'm Armstrong Sims. And that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Car has has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville. But we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, "Your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy," that's a bit harsh. Instead, try something like, "You know, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters." And then if they refuse, you can say, "Well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state." Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Julia Roberts, Julia Robb.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Monday, everybody. Recapping a big weekend across Baylor athletics, including a national championship appearance for the Baylor men's tennis team against the University of Florida. The number 1 and 2 teams squaring off. If you kept up with it throughout the tournament, that was the Baylor and Gonzaga of basketball. It was your Alabama, Ohio State of football. It was the one matchup that folks across the tennis world wanted to see. I mean, how well can the Gators, who had already lost in SEC tournament competition, can they bounce back to win a national championship? Can Baylor keep the dream season alive, keep the win streak going, and win a national title? Well, the two teams squared off. It was as good as advertised. And now this guy, who joined the show after Roy Williams retired from North Carolina. Sam, I was surprised you had the emotional wherewithal to join us then, and I'm just as surprised now after a full week of tennis.
Well, you know, Drake, Roy Williams was actually at the tennis this past week. Just another little Twilight Zone moment between all three of us right now. But, yeah, he was out there watching the Heels play.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a very the NCAA team championships, there are 3 events on my schedule every year that I'm sad when they end. One is the Australian Open. The other is the NCAA beach volleyball championships, and then the NCAA tennis championships. And it is one of the most demanding events I do. It's 4 nights of this year of just nonstop energy, very little sleep, flipping my world upside down. But I just have such a passionate desire as a former tennis player myself to tell everybody's story, because this is the one sport category that, just by nature of the way the sport is played at the collegiate level, it just can't get on television very often. So I kind of take it on as a personal responsibility to make sure it gets the respect it deserves, mostly because I have such a deep background in tennis.
Sam, with that, I mean, you're working, like you talked about, with players who are very seldom on national television. For most of them, this is the biggest stage that they will play on. I mean, looking at even this Baylor tennis team, they haven't been to a national title in now 16 years, and their opportunity to do that was huge for these guys. Just to see collegiate amateur athletes have that opportunity in the sport they love, I mean, what's the luster that comes with that?
The luster that comes with being on national television for them? Is that what you mean?
Just for you to be able to be a part of that, for those guys getting that kind of exposure.
For me to be a part of it, I was telling my wife before the tournament even started, and I had to go over to the NCAA hotel and do my COVID test so that I could be at the tier that the players were on so I could interact with them. And when I just walked into the lobby, and I saw all the racket bags and all the guys and girls in T-shirts and sweatshirts with their school names on it, it's like I just felt like I was home. I was the kid that grew up in the 10 and unders and competed in USTA events all the way up into my 30s. And so I've just been part of that culture for years, and now I'm blessed to get to do it at the professional level. But when you go back to the collegiate level and you know that they're not the $1 million athletes. They're not being catered to. They're just doing it strictly out of the love for the sport. It's a tingling moment for me. I love the kids that play tennis. The one thing I come away with every year is just the character and the integrity that these athletes. It's funny because a lot of people feel like tennis is a sport where everybody cheats because you don't have the linesmen aren't on the court. You just have the umpire. So if you play college tennis, you know you're going to get some bad calls on that far sideline. But it's almost become part of the game in a way. But when you get to this level and you are dealing with kids that or young people that have sacrificed so much, they just bleed character and integrity. It's such a fun atmosphere to be part of for me.
Sam, I know that you've gotten more and more familiar with Baylor in the last year or so, and obviously that visit to Waco you had just over a year ago. Michael Woodson and company coming out there as the number 1 team in the rankings going into the postseason. They get that number 2 overall seed into the postseason. What did you see from Baylor that really made this team elite?
I love the way Baylor competes, and I'm always fascinated when a program has so many international students, how they get them together and form one cohesive unit. And I see it in basketball a lot. I see it in volleyball a lot. And Baylor definitely is, they have a lot of players that are from different countries. And I just love watching the way they compete. They play so hard, but yet they're very, there's a lot of sportsmanship. That's the things you can't see on television. I know you guys there was one player that wasn't playing and he was just screaming his head off at the end of the courts. And one of the Florida assistants walked up to him, and you would normally think, what's going to happen here? And they both start laughing. It's just part of the game. They're just having a good time pulling for their team. And there was a lot of off-camera moments between Baylor and Florida where the mutual respect from both teams was shown. And so I've just, not only just the tennis team, I've always loved the way Baylor sports conducts itself when no one's watching.
Sam, that championship match, Baylor jumped out early. I mean, the attack from Baylor in the doubles point and even really early on in singles. I remember somebody had remarked on Twitter, well, it's in Orlando. Obviously, the crowd's going to favor Florida. But from what we could hear behind the TV set was just Baylor. I mean, the Baylor Nation had showed out. Take me through the atmosphere, especially early on in that match between Baylor and Florida.
It was incredible. It was so nice to be in an environment with a full crowd. And you're right. I felt like that the crowd would heavily favor Florida, but somehow Baylor got a lot of people there. And it was not lopsided in Florida's favor. Now, as Florida started gaining momentum and winning, then you hear the Florida fans. But I felt like Baylor had a lot of fans there. And if they didn't have a lot in numbers, they were loud. They were very enthusiastic. So earlier in the week, we had been concerned because the NCAA had restricted the attendance policy and there still was not a lot of fans going to be allowed. So obviously that would favor the teams that had played there before, that were familiar with the facility or that were close by. And then in the middle of the week, the NCAA said they had changed their mind. They were going to allow 100% fan participation. And I actually had some friends of mine that were trying to get down here and couldn't get flights from where they were living just because so many people were coming to Orlando right now for vacation. But the Baylor fans showed up. They were amazing for their team. I felt like the doubles was crucial for Baylor. That, to me, is where Baylor really had an advantage over Florida. Florida's a team that they like to win the doubles point, but they feel like their singles lineup is so strong that they can survive losing the doubles point. And so it kind of looked like it was following that script when Baylor won the doubles point. And they're thinking, okay, no big deal. We've got them in the singles. And then all of a sudden, Baylor's up on just about every court. And you could just kind of look around and see the Florida fans really concerned at this point because they're usually used to taking control of those singles matches pretty early. And, even if you look at the score, it does not reflect how close it was because the matches that were unfinished and the matches that just got turned around, Baylor definitely belonged in that championship and had an opportunity to win it. It was very close, even though when you look at the score, you may think Florida won it by more than they did.
Sam, one of the individuals that I wanted to point out for Baylor, Adrian Boitan. And what he did on the court on Saturday, especially in a match where he wasn't really supposed to compete and that well. And he was down, I think, 5-1, 5-2 pretty early, and you thought, okay, that's going to be it for him. Where else can Baylor make it up in the singles point? And while he didn't get to finish, I was so impressed by his individual performance, his fight, and even to fight when Baylor was down 3-1, when Baylor was on the cusp of losing that match to a match that he could have won had it played out.
Well, see, that's where I don't want to say Florida got lucky because I don't feel like there's luck in this sport, but that's where Florida was fortunate in that Boyton's court didn't finish the duel, because if it came down to number one singles, that was just going to be that was going to be tough for Florida. Boyton, I'm sure the information that we were given is they say see ball, hit ball when they refer to him, because he absolutely hammers the ball. And Valle, the player that he's playing for Florida, is more of a counter puncher. So Boyton's the one matchup problem for him because he can hit through Valle when he's on, and he was definitely on. So Florida's very fortunate that did not come down to the number one court, and Baylor is not fortunate. Now, the interesting thing is in the individual championships, which have just started, Boyton won yesterday in 3 sets, and if he wins his next match, which is today, he's playing Broska from Mississippi State. If he wins that match, he could end up playing Valle again in the round of 16. So we could have a rematch of that number one court in the round of 16 in the individual championships. And just the way the courts are playing and what Valle has been through, the emotion of winning the team championship, I would be very surprised if Boyton did not make it at least to the quarterfinals.
Well, Sam, with this national championship and what Baylor was able to put together, but, I mean, so impressively what Florida did and the sportsmanship between the two teams, I mean, that really did impress me the most from what I saw on the broadcast, how the two coaches embraced one another, how all the athletes embraced one another. I mean, what was it that gave Florida the edge and really made Florida the better team on Saturday night?
Well, I do think that they did have an advantage having so many fans there for them. Their coach, Brian Shelton, and his assistants, they've been coaching this team to win the national championship. They lost to Tennessee in the SEC final. I actually think that was a good thing for Florida because they came into the team championship with a little extra edge. They're just very good in singles. And the problem with Florida for other teams is they've gotten better as the season progresses. In college tennis, a lot of times you see teams go through ebbs and flows, and by the time they get to the team championships, because it is still an individual sport competed as a team, guys are burned out, they're hurt, they're nicked up, they've just come out of exams, a lot of them, you never know what's happened. So it's very hard for the top teams to actually run the table and win, but this Florida team's kind of built for it, and I feel like that they're going to be good for many, many years to come now. They have a lot of young players.
Then one of the things, Sam, we mentioned on the top of the show today is college basketball. I mean, those guys are playing, 25, 28 minutes a game. And you get into the postseason and you've got the Sweet 16 that goes in the Elite Eight. And then you get a week off, and then you get Final Four, a day off, national championship. These guys playing tennis, a lot of them doubles into singles, 3 nights in a row. I mean, you're going nonstop for 2.5 hours, 3 straight days. What kind of toll does this take on these athletes?
Well, it sounds really tough, and I don't want to minimize it, but these athletes are used to it. I don't think it's ever a coincidence when we play the championship here that you don't see a lot of Midwest teams and Northern teams. Even the West Coast teams struggle a little bit in Florida because of the different weather conditions. So these are by the time you get to college, you've grown up playing junior tennis at a very high level where sometimes you've had to play 3 matches in a day. And you started at 8 a.m. and you may have gone all the way and played a night match. So the fitness level in tennis is extremely high for this sport. They all train based on going the distance. So I don't think it takes that much of a toll like us mere mortals would think it would. They're used to it by this time. The only challenge in Florida can be the heat and humidity. And they were very fortunate that they played on a pretty cool night. And so the weather wasn't a factor. It was windy this year. That was different. But the heat and humidity that we saw here 2 years ago, combined with the love bugs that were here, they were not out this year. But I mean, these kids are in shape. They're ready for it. This week's very hot in Florida. It's going to be in the mid-90s for the rest of the week. So that's going to be tough on the singles players. But you only play 1 match a day this week.
Yeah, I can tell you from my couch, I did not want to play 3 matches in a row and 3 days in a row. So I think that I was worn out watching them at least.
Adrenaline is a very powerful drug, Drake. I can tell you that. It's when you get in the middle of this atmosphere, that's where I think being an individual athlete in a team sport helps them push even harder because you've always got someone pushing you. The coaches can be on the court in between points with you. You kind of forget how tired you are at times based on the level of support you're getting from your teammates, your coaches, and the crowd, especially Baylor and Florida, because they had so much of all of that.
Well, Sam, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I mean, you've got Michael Woodson, who was thrown into the head coaching role, interim head coaching role, in such an interesting way, and now getting that head coaching nod from Mac Rhodes, the athletic department here. We have fallen in love with Coach Woodson. He's been on the show almost 10 times. Like, he gets the gold jacket. I think today is number 10. And so just what he's done, too, in such a rare year, a weird year, as a new head coach, building this program to this point in 2021. Really, what do you see out of Michael Woodson? What can you speak on when it comes to who I think is the greatest to ever do it, and he's only been there 1 year?
Well, I mean, anyone that comes out of North Carolina has got to be pretty cool, right?
There you go.
He's from Raleigh. I grew up in Fayetteville, which is pretty close to Raleigh. But no, I think that it was a genius move to promote him to head coach, especially when you have a roster that has a lot of players from other countries that are getting used to the United States, getting used to college tennis. If you try to bring in another coach, even if it's a big name, there's a chemistry issue there that you have to manage. And a lot of times in tennis, you have a head coach, but the players are actually closer on a more personal level with some of the assistants. And I think that's the case in Baylor. It was just absolutely perfect. Those players of yours were so complimentary of him, and they were so relieved when he got to be the head coach because of that familiarity and just the love they have for him. And when you have players not only playing for themselves but wanting to please their coach, that's a very powerful thing. And I can tell you that Baylor benefits from that. Every single player that I talked to, the one thing that was consistent in every comment they gave me was how much they love Coach Woodson.
Well, that certainly applies to our show as well. We have become huge Michael Woodson fans for what he's done across Baylor and just the character in which he does it. Sam, my last question for you. I know we've talked a lot this last little bit about Florida and Baylor and the field as a whole, but for you, I'm sure you take something away from every tournament that you do, every match that you do. And what is it from this trip to Orlando that you'll remember most about your week calling these tennis matches?
Well, I know I'm on a Baylor program, but I have to say, I don't care who you are. If you were watching that final, I've never been part of a national championship that unfolded in such a Hollywood fashion. I mean, you had a head coach and a program that had never won the national championship as a men's team at Florida. And then for the head coach's son to win the national championship for his dad in that program, I mean, you couldn't write a script any better than that. I'll always remember that Ben Shelton won Florida the NCAA championship as a freshman, and his dad is the head coach. And Brian became the first coach in history in tennis to win as a women's head coach, which he did at Georgia Tech, and Florida now as a men's coach. And I know even if you're having Coach Woodson on, no one in tennis, whether they are professional, have Hall of Fame on tour, whatever level of tennis, that knows Brian Shelton does not love that guy. He bleeds character and integrity. And just to see the way it all unfolded with his son getting them the win, I think there's a lot of Baylor fans that had a tear in their eye after that. So that's my big takeaway, was just how Florida won it. Not that they won it. That wasn't what got me, but just the way it happened.
Sam, I thought you were going to say Pepperdine in Texas after the five. I felt like
Drake. Wait, I know not to talk about Texas on a Baylor show. Okay, I can get away with Florida, but not Texas.
Exactly. Yeah, we were rooting. I think that's the first time in my life I've rooted so hard for Pepperdine. I'm not sure if there's ever been another sporting event where I've done so. But Sam, our Bear Games question of the day. You know, we're celebrating Baylor men's tennis today for what they did all season long, and our question we're asking callers and guess, if you could take these guys to one restaurant anywhere in the country, somebody's buying them a meal. I mean, I've got to buy them a meal at some point. You got to take them out to a restaurant. Where are you taking them? Anywhere. I mean, this is wide open.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
Well, I mean, just because they were here in Lake Nona, there's an amazing place here called Park Pizza. And it's just a perfect place for a big group to go. Unbelievable pizza. They have outdoor seating, this big courtyard. They have tons of TVs. You can watch games. So I don't think this group would be into fine dining as much as they would be going out and having a good time. And I'd say Park Pizza in the Lake Nona Town Center. Look it up.
I think you nailed it. We'll have. I'll ask Coach Woodson about that and probably send that over to the team ops guy since they're still in Florida right now. But Sam, it was a pleasure listening to you on the call across tennis this past week, as always, and great to hear you call a Baylor match. I mean, that's always fun in itself. So, and the lariat hat too. You got red. You're just bleeding green and gold today.
I'm a big Baylor fan personally. I mean, you know that, and I'm hoping that I'll be back doing volleyball in the fall there, because it looks like we are now back on the road officially at ESPN And so I'm looking forward to coming back down to Waco.
If not that, 2025, Herd Tennis Center. I'll see you there, hopefully.
That's right.
I'll see you there.
I hope, God willing, I'll be there.
Beautiful. Hey, Sam, thanks so much for joining the show today and giving us more perspective on Orlando this past week. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Anytime, Drake.
Absolutely. Again, that was Sam Gore, who, if there's anybody that knows anything about tennis, on the national scale especially, it's Sam Gore, who works for ESPN and was on the Tennis Channel Saturday for Baylor and Florida. I will say, very storybook. The fact that the coach's son, the Florida coach's son, who is a freshman, his first experience in collegiate tennis, is the guy that won it for them. I mean, the winning point was the coach's kid. It's tough to write. Again, that's like a storybook ending. It's tough to write it better than that. College coach gets his first win. Program gets their first win. I mean, there were a lot of things that you're in Orlando, you're in Florida. It would have been really cool for Baylor to play spoiler for that, but Florida taking it, I get it. Again, I mean, you got to be excited for a guy who got to watch his son win him his first national championship on the men's side, win the team the first national championship on the men's side. I'm sure Ben Shelton doesn't remember when his dad won the championship at Georgia Tech for the women in 2007, but hey, you know, I'm proud. I'm a proud tennis fan today. I'm a proud Baylor tennis fan today. We got Music Monday coming up right here. You got about 17 seconds to call us. 254-339-1122 to play Music Monday today. Man, Andrew, takeaways from tennis this weekend. I'm still so enamored with the fact that a lot of Baylor fans, I feel like, didn't have that affinity and affection toward tennis, and they do now.
Takeaway number one, sadness. Takeaway number two, Michael Woodson might be the right guy. I think definitely is the right guy. So that's good. You know, building for the future.
Definitely going back and forth right there.
I think he's the guy.
Senses.
I mean, well, only time will tell, but pretty great that he did what he did this year. So that's good. Getting a good coach is step one. Takeaway three, great season, great fans. I'm looking forward to next season. Those are my takeaways. Those are my tennis takeaways.
I hope Baylor's right back where they are come next season. I know they're losing a couple of those guys, and you've got those grad transfers that came in and were a huge, vital part of what Baylor was able to do. They won't be with you anymore.
That's why it's even a little sadder. It's because you don't get these guys back. You know, these guys became such like characters in the Baylor community, and now they're gone forever. So it's just sad.
Gone forever. Very much staples of what Baylor tennis has been able to do. And, Adrian Boitan is back. Boitan, I've heard it so many ways, is back next season. So maybe Baylor just rallies around a guy like that, put something together. How about it? We got Music Monday today. Armstrong put this one together. Armstrong, welcome back, by the way. We're happy to have you back. Big hand for Jack, though, for running the show for 8 out of 10 days. Is that what we decided it was? 1 3/5 weeks?
1 3/5 weeks.
Wow. And Armstrong's back today. All right, we got the Music Monday rolling up. I guess, let's get Marquise in on this action. Can we do that? Is that possible?
There.
To get Marquise in on the Music Monday action?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we can. It's me, Andrew, and Marquise.
Oh, all right, sweet.
And let's see who we got, who can pick up the Music Monday today. All right, Armstrong, we're ready for Music Monday?
Here, you stand here and use this mic. We are.
All right, cue it.
Is this one?
Yeah.
This burning desire. By the morning, that Texas fill my soul. Lights go out and I can be saved.
Oh. Man, what's so good about this one is that I know all of them, but I know none of them.
Right, yes,
You know?
exactly what I was going to say.
Like, I can sing all of them.
I've heard them all for sure.
Don't say your answers yet.
I've heard them all for sure, but I don't know what they're called. I might do very poorly on this
Marquise, how do you feel?
Yeah, I only knew, I say 2 off the top of my head that I was like, I know the song right away. But the other ones, kind of struggling.
All right,
Very struggling.
it's cute. Let's
We're
hit
going
it
again?
Yeah.
All right, let's go again.
This burning desire. By the morning,
Yeah, it's tough.
Oh, no.
Scratch that. There's only one that I actually know.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
And no Drake on this one. No Migos, you know. That's kind of my wheelhouse. We're in dangerous territory here.
All right.
How do you feel?
Not good.
Yeah, me neither.
Anybody got number one?
It might be by the Foo Fighters. I'm not sure.
No, it's
I didn't hear it, so I don't know the order.
I know it. I know Nirvana.
Okay, then, yeah.
Could be Nirvana. Smells like Teen Spirit.
You know that.
You got that?
Yeah.
After all this talk about you not feeling confident.
Got
Ace
the first one.
Yeah, what?
Number 2 is,
I don't even have a guess.
Is it highest mountain? Some mountain. I would run.
I think it was
Throw 2.
U2.
Oh, dang it.
Still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Ah, dang it.
Yeah, I would never.
But I could be wrong. I didn't actually hear it, and I can't remember the order.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3 is a wash.
No chance. No chance.
Not at all.
Which one was
Was it the country song?
Was it a country song?
Yeah.
That's Southbound 35 by Pat Green.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
The 4th one was by the White Stripes, and it's called Woohoo.
Is that what it's called?
No,
is it
I think I got it. I might be wrong, but Windows Down.
Yeah, I said
Big Time Rush.
I said Big Time Rush.
Song 2 by Blur.
No, they use the same thing in the other song. That's why I went with that.
So bad. And then the
Number
fifth one is...
It's Coldplay,
yeah,
for sure.
Coldplay.
Is it called Vida La Vida? No? You looking at me weird?
No, I didn't think it was that one. I did know it was Coldplay. I don't know the song, though.
Yeah, I got Coldplay and I got
song
Street Lights.
Clocks.
Oh, I should
wow.
have said that.
I got 3 today and 1. That is so bad.
I got 2 total points.
That is so
I
bad.
think I got 1. I'm going to fight on number 4.
There you go.
I'll give you a point.
Marquise got it. Hey, I'm Drake Toll. Got Armstrong, Sims, Marquise Cooley, Andrew Robertson, and Jack McKenzie. When we come back, Coach Michael Woodson of the Baylor men's tennis program joins our show to talk to us about what it was like to compete in the national championship match. Tennis. Man, I love tennis. Michael Woodson joins the show up next. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this one. This is Up Tempo.
Just steps away from glory, the Baylor men's tennis team came up just short in the national championship match on Saturday with a 4-1 loss to the number 1 seed Florida Gators. Despite winning the doubles point in convincing fashion, Florida took advantage late in the singles competition to secure the program's first win in history. Michael Woodson and company end their season with a program record 34 wins and a national runner-up finish. In baseball, Baylor took Game 1 9-5 against Oklahoma, but lost the series to the Sooners after a 10-6 and 6-5 finish on Friday and Saturday. It was a muggy weekend in Waco where both teams fought off rain on multiple occasions, and Baylor couldn't seem to find its stride offensively down the stretch. The Bears finished the regular season 31-18 and 11-13 in Big 12 play as they head to the conference tournament as a 6th seed to meet Texas Tech in round 1 in Bricktown on Wednesday. The Baylor softball team saw its season end over the weekend with an 0-2 performance in the Gainesville Regional. The team fell 2-0 in a tight pitcher's duel on Friday and finished on the wrong end of a 5-0 score Saturday as South Florida no-hit Baylor. The team finishes 27-23 on the year for the program's 14th NCAA postseason bid. In golf, the Lady Bears are past the 3rd round and climbing with a 2/290 in the 3rd round. The squad currently sits in 13th place overall at the NCAA Championships. The Lady Bears must move into 8th place or better in today's final round to advance to match play. And a couple of individual tennis players are in action in the singles and doubles championships in Orlando, as Adrian Boyton and the duo of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law play today. Also, guess who's back? Yeah, it's me, Armstrong. And Phil Mickelson won that thing, which was so awesome. Back from the dead, I'm Armstrong Sims. And that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's a name and a memory that called us back. It's a belief and a labor that will carry us forward. It's a time and experience that will make you return. The new Bear Ridge Golf Club, a space revitalized, a course restored, a new experience. For a tee time today, call the Pro Shop at 254-848-7800. Go to BearRidgeWaco.com, just south of Waco on Highway 84. Come join us at Bear Ridge Golf Club.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
No capes. Do you remember Thunderhead? Tall, storm powers. Nice man. Good with kids.
Listen. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Diner guy, snag on takeoff. Splashdown, sucked into a vortex. No kicks.
Here's Drake Toll and Armstrong Sims.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Monday, everybody. I'll tell you what, I'm looking outside in Waco right now. It's about 70 degrees, pouring rain, and horrendous weather. But now we got a guy who just competed in a national championship and is still soaking up the Florida sun with the aesthetic he got going on right now is immaculate. Coach Michael Woodson joining the show. Coach, thanks for coming on as always, even in such horrendous conditions.
Yeah, it's tough out here. We appreciate you having me. Getting a little bit of a distraction from the weather.
Yeah, I'm glad that we can keep you focused. Coach, I mean, just now, a couple of days removed from it, 48 hours removed from it, you got to compete in the national championship with the Baylor Bears. I mean, as the head coach of the Baylor Bears, what has this ride been like for you?
It's been an amazing experience, to be out there with these guys, to be alongside them, support them, help them fulfill their dreams. That's why these guys come here, to experience something like they have over the past 5 months. And, to be able to compete in 39 matches in a year like this, stay safe and healthy and have that opportunity it's really something that's going to be hard to really process and fathom, I think, for many more days, but just super grateful and appreciative of the opportunities that Baylor's given us and that these guys, the ride that they took me on was very, very special.
Coach, I know we haven't spoken since the Tennessee match when you guys met on Friday, and I followed along with that one pretty closely, and just making it to the national championship was not a guarantee. A lot of experts had Tennessee picked to win the championship this season, and you guys were able to finish that one out. I mean, the gruel that match was, just getting to Saturday was no easy road.
No, not at all. I mean, we had a very difficult draw. I just felt like, this year was such an interesting year, given that, there were so many guys that utilized their extra year of eligibility from last year, freshmen coming in. I mean, there were a lot of super teams out there. Fortunately, we were one of them. But, there are teams that have been playing for a national championship or won a national championship in previous years that didn't even make it to the round of 16. A team like Michigan, who started the year top 5, lost in the first round. So there are just a ton of really strong teams. And to be able to get through Ole Miss, obviously TCU, we know and respect them so much. And Tennessee to make it to the final was an excellent run for our guys. Really great tennis.
Coach, I want to know, this season you guys started out at 15 in the country, and a lot of folks didn't have you guys even in that national championship top 10 conversation. Is that just a weird fever dream for you, being not even a top 10 team at one point in this year?
I mean, we knew that wasn't right, and that was definitely some motivation for us, as you know, and but even being one of the favorites, even being a conference champion, that doesn't give you a right or a pass to play in the national championship match or make it to the Final Four or anything like that. I mean, you see it, some people might be more familiar with other sports, but such as March Madness, you see one seeds go down in the second round in the round of 16 all the time. So just being seeded to make the Final Four, to make the finals doesn't really do how difficult it is justice. And so, I hope our guys come to eventually understand and appreciate, the magnitude of what they were able to accomplish.
Well, Coach, you get to match day, national championship match day, and it felt like, for me at least from my couch, that you didn't start until around midnight local time. I mean, just the gruel that day was even before the match started. Take me through what Saturday was like for you and the team.
Honestly, we enjoyed the heck out of it. I mean, I had so much fun, spending time with the guys, getting out there, getting out to the courts, practicing, just hanging out with them throughout the day. That it was actually nice to play a little bit later because we could just kind of spend a little bit more time together. It wasn't anything special. It's just, these are the last days. That was the last day that we're going to all be out there together as a team. And, then guys are going to start to go their separate ways for the summer and some, professionally and otherwise. So, sorry, there are planes that fly over here, so sometimes it gets a little loud. But anyways, yeah, so, it wasn't – I didn't feel a lot of pressure. I don't think, the guys did either, really. We were just trying to enjoy that moment and kind of take in that time because we knew it was limited and that was going to be it. So, nothing really special. It was business as usual, but just making the most of that time together.
Coach, with how well you're interconnected with this team and have really poured into the guys and vice versa this season, when you get to that moment, you got Texas and Pepperdine going on. I mean, they go more than the distance. That thing it lasted forever. And then you get a shot to compete for a national championship. Was there a motivational speech beforehand, or was this just to go out and take care of business?
We spoke, we had a little, get together the night before where we had each guy shared what this team meant to them. And, that was really cool and emotional. And, the next day it was, we got together, we talked about the same things we talk about for every match. We know what the conditions are going to be like. We know what the other team's going to look like and what they're going to try to do. We know that that the crowd's going to be nasty. Turned out to be maybe nastier than we even had anticipated, but it was, we kind of knew what to expect there, and just kind of preparing the guys for that situation, and trying not to make more of it than what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just another tennis match they played in thousands. So, we just wanted them to be prepared like normal, and we felt like they were ready to go.
Coach, the doubles point. Your guys went out there and absolutely punched Florida in the mouth. I mean, you could tell that really early on, your guys had come to play, whether it be the announcers, the fans, the crowd. I mean, even the faces on the players' the look on the players' faces. Your guys showed up in the doubles point really early on. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, I think our guys went out there with a clear game plan and executed. And credit to them. They handled the situation quite well, and went out there and got that point. We felt like that was going to be a pivotal point for us in the match, and try to get some momentum going into singles, and they certainly delivered. It was fun to watch those guys play so well in the biggest moments.
Coach, with that, I mean, this Florida team, I saw it a couple of times, whether it be Florida assistant coaches, players, yourself, with their coaches. I mean, the sportsmanship that went across the way from you guys, what is the respect level that these two programs have for one another?
We certainly have a ton of respect for their players. They have played at the highest level, around the world, and just, clearly a great group of guys. They're still 18 to 22-year-old kids, and I think their reputations kind of take care of themselves. But I have good relationships with several of their players, and honestly just feel like they've done a great job there. I mean, that team is very, very strong. It starts with recruiting, and I think the combination of having good experience there as well as talent and playing in a home atmosphere was the difference. And credit to them, they played really, really well on the big points, and they should feel extremely proud of what they have accomplished.
Coach, take me through that atmosphere, because I know, especially coming through my TV on early on in the match, it sounded like the Baylor faithful 1,000 miles away had shown up, and that was all you could hear really early on was that Baylor group. Obviously, as Florida got hot, that tilted, but I mean, it seemed like, especially with COVID, sports haven't been sports, but Saturday you could hear the crowd, and they made a difference from what I heard.
Yeah, that was the first time we've played at 100% capacity all year. And so it was really special to be able to play in an environment like that. That being said, I think the way that the fans behaved made a difference, positively for Florida, negatively for us. And that's something that you can't really, prepare for. You just have to kind of understand this is how it's going to be. And, they might say some things that you're not going to like. And, it's how you respond to that will define you and your team's success. And I thought that Florida handled it and utilized that to the best of, their abilities. And were able to kind of harness that momentum there for a few minutes in the middle of the match that made the difference.
Coach, from a Baylor standpoint and the Baylor faithful that made their way out to Orlando, I mean, were you surprised at all by the contingency of green and gold that found their way to Florida?
I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm so thankful for everyone that came and supported us, not just on the championship day, but throughout the entire week. I mean, it was amazing to see all the fans and how loud they were, how much they showed out for these young men. It was truly special. It wasn't just family and friends. It was Baylor alums, tennis alums, university, employees and staff members. I mean, it was a combination of everybody. It was so cool to see all those people here and cheering for us. And they were, I mean, they did the bet. They were probably outnumbered, 20-1. And it felt like, we were right there. It was close. A lot of times you could hear the Baylor fans throughout the entire match. And then, the two matches before that, even though Tennessee had way more fans than us, felt like home matches. And that was really, really cool. And so appreciative of those individuals for making it out. I kind of did expect it just because I feel like these guys have built a great following. I mean, they've done such a great job of engaging with everyone throughout the year that, they kind of, have got to a point where they deserve the following that they have. And it's really cool. It's fun to watch them. I mean, I would travel to watch them too.
Coach, with the Tennessee match and as tightly contested, I talked about this with Sam Gore, how in college basketball you get a week break between the Elite Eight and the Final Four, and then a day break between everything. I mean, for these tennis guys, I mean, they're going back to back to back to back, even into individual and doubles championships. How much of a toll, how much fatigue goes into the team tournament and then moving forward?
It's absolutely brutal. The schedule is, oof. I mean, you can't ask for anything tougher than what they're doing to lay it out on the line, basically empty the tank every single day for, 2 weeks, that you're just trying to hold on at the end of the day. I mean, now that we're in the individuals, it's just trying to make sure we don't feel too terrible each day. And especially given the just the physical demands of it, but the emotional demands. I mean, the matches swing, and there's so much more to it than just your match and your doubles match. So it's really, really difficult. I mean, they're asking a lot of these young men and these, student athletes. And, I'm just appreciative that our guys handled it so well. They've been well conditioned. They've been prepared, mentally and emotionally to handle it. And I felt like they delivered.
Coach, going into the end of the match, we've talked about, and Sam Gore talked about it, just Florida taking that. You got the father-son duo, kind of that storybook run, and Florida taking their first title. I mean, really, did you share words with Coach Shelton at all after the match and through that moment?
No, honestly, not really. Just went up to him and the other two coaches and congratulated them, and on a great run that, I frankly know the players a lot better than I know the coaches, and have a lot of respect for the players, and they were dogpiling each other and celebrating like they should. So, got to speak with them yesterday at more length and just congratulate them on a job well done. They were very gracious. The players just handled that situation well, and I think understood, what a quality team we had and how fortunate they were to be playing where they were and to get through. And so, don't know the Sheltons very well, and just congratulated them and gave them the credit that they deserve. I mean, a job well done.
Coach, going into your conversations with the team in the post-match, what were some of those like? What did you say to those guys and vice versa? And I mean, is this already something that's going to fuel you and your program moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we're competitors. Listen, like, losing isn't fun, and that's what we talk about, but our goal is to play on the last day, and we were able to do that. We felt confident that we had a team to win, and we all felt like we were in position to win at different times in that match. And I think that's what was so hard for our guys, because we were so close. And that was just hard to see, the guys hurt and see their hearts broken, being that close. But, just explain to them, and they know this, how proud we are of them, how much we love them, and how much fun that journey was that they took us on. That this match will not define who we are. It's how we handled ourselves in those moments. And I frankly couldn't have been more impressed with the way that they behaved, handled themselves in really difficult situations, and, competed as hard as they possibly could, emptied the tank, and did it as absolute class acts. So, really, made sure that they knew how pleased we were and how much we loved them.
Well, Coach, I mean, from the videos with Scott Drew and Dave Aranda and all of the Coach Joey Scrivano to congratulate you on making a championship and wish you luck through the pageantry of the actual championship match, having Baylor Nation, a lot of Baylor Nation there, Baylor Nation watching. I mean, all of this for you, even being the head coach now for less than a month. I mean, wrapping it all up into a bow. What has this national championship appearance experience been like for you?
It's been an awesome run, and all the all the recognition and all the congratulations, everything has been really cool, and I'm very appreciative of that. But to be honest, the best part has just been being able to spend time with the guys. To be able to spend time with this team, with this group of young men, and to see them put themselves through so much, to sacrifice so much, and to be able to accomplish it. To set out at the beginning of the year, to set these goals, to put our heads down, get to work, and to come out on the other end, with so many accolades and so many victories and so much success as a team is really the coolest part. And I think the thing that I'm most proud of is just seeing these guys accomplish things that they've set out for. So really, really impressed by them and pleased and just proud. I'm so proud of these guys.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on today after this past weekend and the unbelievable run. And do you feel like all the niche Baylor tennis fans like that's really growing now? That they're kind of coming out of the woodwork?
I'm hoping that this coverage, really does these young men justice. The sport of tennis and college tennis is really exciting. I mean, it's a lot of fun. There is so much action, 6 courts, no ad scoring. I mean, matches are turning, momentum swinging everywhere that you look. There's always a big point going on. And it's so fast. And so, we're excited that, we are building a strong following. I think that's going to serve us extremely well moving forward. And these guys deserve it. I mean, these are some of the best tennis players in the world. And you will see these guys go on to have great professional careers, several of them. And so it's really cool to see Baylor Nation and our Baylor family stepping up and following us.
Well, we got you, Sam Gore, and Alex Gruskin all on the same show in the same day. So this is officially a tennis show. I think we're drinking the Kool-Aid. We've locked in on the bandwagon.
I love it. We appreciate the coverage. It means so much to us.
Well, Coach, our Bear Games question of the day today revolves around you and your tennis program. Every caller and guest, we're asking them to congratulate your guys by taking them out to a restaurant, and we're letting them pick the restaurant anywhere in the nation. So you, in Orlando, you got to go out and take these guys somewhere. I know you're not the team ops guy, but I'm sure you get a say. Hopefully you get a say. Where are you taking the boys?
Does it have to be in Orlando?
No, you know what? It doesn't. You can take them to Texas Roadhouse or El Con here in Waco.
Honestly, something, I'm looking forward to getting back and taking the guys to Union Hall. I know that's not that exciting, but I think it's such a great place in Waco with so many different options. And you're not going to have anybody mumbling or grumbling by having to go there.
Yeah. Union Hall, it's the best of every world, and there's plenty of group seating. What an astute observation from Coach Michael Woodson of Baylor Tennis. Coach, congratulations on everything that you've put together this season, the team has put together, on being the head coach. I know it's been a whirlwind ride. It's simultaneously been 3 weeks and a year and a half for you this last couple of months. So I just want to thank you for all that you've done, for coming on the show and being a vital part of what we put together this spring. And, man, if you ever get bored over this summer, I got an empty chair right here. You can host some of this show with me.
Just say when. I'll be there.
I love it. Coach, thanks again. It's a pleasure to have you.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. Appreciate Absolutely. The coverage.
Again, that's Michael Woodson, the head tennis coach at Baylor University. I mean, factoring in where that guy started earlier this year as the interim head coach, the situation that occurred for him to be propelled to the head coach, the interim head coach position, and then finding out from Mack Rhoades that he would be Baylor's head men's tennis coach and leading that team to a national championship in a magical run is unbelievable. I mean, when the documentary comes out, hopefully we're in it. Hopefully we have the chance to be in that. And when the movie comes out, I wonder who's going to play me. I don't know who's going to play Armstrong. We got to figure that out. Andrew?
I assume Armstrong will be played by either, Brad Pitt or Jack Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, Jack makes a great point, though. Armstrong may have missed out on the movie this time around due to some issues,
unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, But what a year. What a ride for Baylor men's tennis. And the eyes of the tennis world, the eyes of the Baylor fandom world were on Baylor men's tennis when they went to the national championship against Florida this past weekend. When we come back, we're going to break some more things down across the realm of Baylor athletics, Baylor sports. We've got a lot to get to this week across baseball, a lot to get to across recruiting. Football's picking up. We're doing a lot of football talk. We're going to settle in, especially as the summer rolls around, into football and preparing for next football season as Baylor gets ready for their first game against Texas State in San Marcos. I'm Drake Toll. We got Andrew Robertson, Jack McKenzie. We got Marquise Cooley and Armstrong Sims, a packed house today. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
Just steps away from glory, the Baylor men's tennis team came up just short in the national championship match on Saturday with a 4-1 loss to the number 1 seed Florida Gators. Despite winning the doubles point in convincing fashion, Florida took advantage late in the singles competition to secure the program's first win in history. Michael Woodson and company end their season with a program record 34 wins and a national runner-up finish. In baseball, Baylor took Game 1 9-5 against Oklahoma, but lost the series to the Sooners after a 10-6 and 6-5 finish on Friday and Saturday. It was a muggy weekend in Waco where both teams fought off rain on multiple occasions, and Baylor couldn't seem to find its stride offensively down the stretch. The Bears finished the regular season 31-18 and 11-13 in Big 12 play as they head to the conference tournament as a 6th seed to meet Texas Tech in round 1 in Bricktown on Wednesday. The Baylor softball team saw its season end over the weekend with an 0-2 performance in the Gainesville Regional. The team fell 2-0 in a tight pitcher's duel on Friday and finished on the wrong end of a 5-0 score Saturday as South Florida no-hit Baylor. The team finishes 27-23 on the year for the program's 14th NCAA postseason bid. In golf, the Lady Bears are past the third round and climbing with a 2-over 290 in the third round. The squad currently sits in 13th place overall at the NCAA Championships. The Lady Bears must move into 8th place or better in today's final round to advance to match play. And a couple of individual tennis players are in action in the singles and doubles championships in Orlando, as Adrian Boyton and the duo of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law play today. Also, guess who's back? Yeah, it's me, Armstrong. And Phil Mickelson won that thing, which was so awesome. Back from the dead, I'm Armstrong Sims. And that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Pay over qualified buyer with 4,000 down at 2.9% TTL extra. See deal for details.
Travel is back, and so are the savings of the Memorial Day Savings Event at Richard Carr. Save $5,900 on 2021 Buick Encore. Drive off in the affordable luxury of a Buick Encore for as little as $258 a month. Or vacation in the spacious comfort of a 3-row Buick Enclave and save $8,500. 100% credit approval is always our goal. It's the Memorial Day Savings Event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Julia Roberts. Julia Rob.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Monday, everybody. May 24th action today, 12:35 on the dot in Waco, Texas. The sun's starting to peek out a little bit. The weather today was pretty horrendous to start, but we're getting better, all right? We're getting better. RPI today in college baseball. So we talked about it over the weekend. You know, Baylor played in the national championship of men's tennis. That's about all I watched of sports this weekend was Baylor in the national championship. It was a national championship. Baylor lost to Florida 4-1 in baseball. So I don't know if you caught Sunday's game, 9-5 final score. Baylor ended up winning the first game of the series last Thursday. I say Sunday, it was Saturday that Baylor rounded out that series. Then a 10-6 loss to Oklahoma on Friday night. Some weather delays that tripped up Baylor and pushed games forward and moved them back and left and right and forth. And they lost 6-5 on Sunday with a chance to tie it late in the game. Man on second, runner in scoring position. Andy Thomas is up to bat, and Baylor just could not capitalize. Andy Thomas ended up I think he lined out, or he dribbled one to the second baseman, tossed to first, and the ball game, Baylor loses that one. So RPI right now, and we're D1 baseball. So a big place that I look to find all my baseball news and stuff is D1 baseball. You can find them on Twitter at D1 baseball, and hopefully we have some of their guys on the next few days. It's going to be a big baseball week. RPI right now. So let's go through the automatic qualifiers first. 4 out of the 30 teams that have the possibility of clinching a spot in the NCAA postseason have already done so. So there'll be 30 automatic qualifiers. Luckily, what that's going to do is, I will say, let's go ratio-wise. Of those 30 teams, 8 of them will be ranked. So that takes 8 teams off the board. Out of the top 40 RPI, I would say 30 teams, maybe we'll say 15 are ranked, okay, in the top 40 RPI. So that's another 15 that are not, okay? So that leaves room for that's 30 people gone, 34 teams, 34 slots to fill. Baylor is not comfortably in the NCAA tournament, but just doing some quick math and crunching numbers on top of my head, it looks like Baylor has a shot. It's the bubble. The bubble right now looks really, really tough. I'm looking at D1 baseball like I talked about right now online, trying to figure out if Baylor's going to be able to make the NCAA postseason. Top 25 does not feature the Bears, which is no surprise, but you got Texas Tech is number 5 in the country today when that came out. Baylor won on the road, a series at Texas Tech. You've got TCU is at 15 right now in the nation. Texas is at 2, so that helps Baylor's RPI, the fact they played those teams just in general. And then Oklahoma State is in a lot of these brackets just kind of teetering on the edge of should they be a top 25 team, should they be a host team, should they even be in the postseason. There have been a lot of tough conversations about where they are right now. I'm looking at the bubble, and there is nothing that's going to make Baylor safe as things sit right now from making the postseason. I mean, A-Rob, when you look at this Baylor baseball team and what they've done, their complete body of work this year, do they deserve to make the postseason right now?
This is a resilient team. I thought they were peaking at the right time. I thought they could win this series versus OU. Losing that series, definitely some doubt is creeping in the back of my head. I'm a little bit worried about this team, but on the other side of that coin, do we still have the Big 12 tournament to play?
Yeah.
Is that going to affect our RPIs? If we do well in that tournament, could we potentially secure a spot rather than being a bubble team?
That is the RPI when it comes to postseason play. It's going to help if Baylor's able to win a couple of games. If Baylor can beat Texas Tech.
Huge, yeah.
So you got Bricktown is the place where Baylor will meet Texas Tech coming up this Wednesday. So Wednesday, it's a 9 a.m. game too. Oof. So we'll be on the air probably when they're wrapping up that one on Wednesday from Bricktown, trying to find out whether or not Baylor will have a spot in the tournament. And that's going to be in the NCAA tournament. That's going to be part of it, is how well they play in the Big 12 tournament. I mean, I'm looking up and down their schedule. That UTRGV series loss is tough.
That's
and they go
very
this
tough.
Huge win streak against Sam Houston, North Carolina A&T, West Virginia. You've got a couple different win streaks that were really good for them. Memphis, Xavier, UTSA. But those aren't teams that are really going to help your resume that much.
Right.
You know, I mean, how much are you going to get out of having that kind of record against teams that really don't factor into your RPI? So Baylor needs, I mean, if they're going to make it to the postseason, they're going to need to win a game or two in Bricktown. If Baylor goes winless in Oklahoma City, at that point, I think you've got a problem.
I'll take it one further. If they go winless at Oklahoma City, I don't think they deserve to make the postseason. I think you have to go out and win at least one game. Now, for those who don't understand, could you maybe explain the postseason structure of the Big 12 tournament? I understand, but just for our listeners out there.
So the postseason structure of your Big 12 tournament, there are 10 teams in the Big 12, and the top 2 teams will get a bye. Okay. So the 2 teams get a bye. That would mean that the 6 seed plays the 3 seed, which is where Baylor is right now. The 5 seed plays the 4 seed, and so on.
Is it single elimination?
There are 9 teams because Iowa State's not in it. So, oh man, hold on. I'm pulling up the bracket right now. I got to pull the bracket right now.
And also, is it single elimination? Is it double elimination?
Double elimination.
Are they playing one game? Are they playing series? You know, those are big questions.
It is. It's double elimination.
Double elimination, but they just play one game. Because I think Baylor can beat a team like Texas Tech once.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can win the series, but they can definitely beat them once. So if it's just one game, my confidence in Baylor goes up tremendously.
I'm trying to find a PDF of the bracket, but I can't find it yet. So you got number 4 Oklahoma State, number 5 Oklahoma. Baylor is the number 6 seed facing number 3 seed Texas Tech. TCU's the 2 seed. They play 7 seed Kansas. Okay, so it's 8. It is 8 teams. So number 1 seed for the championship, the Texas Longhorns. Oh man. Okay, so all the teams make it. Okay, I didn't Okay, now I get it. Number 9 West Virginia plays number 8 West Virginia plays number 9 Kansas.
Oh, so
then that is a play-in game for the top 8. And then the top 8 teams just play a true double elimination bracket. So it's single elimination between the 8 and the 9 seed. And at that point, you have just a double elimination full-through bracket. If Baylor is able to win, again, we talked about the best-case scenarios last week for Baylor baseball and what they can put together going down the course the rest of the season, is Baylor ends up being in a regional against who I think if Baylor ends up being in a regional like an Ole Miss, that's going to bode well for them. Maybe even in Eugene. I think Baylor could go to Stanford and win. Notre Dame, I could see them winning in. I could see them going up and having a pretty good trek if they were to go to South Bend. The problem is you're looking at your super regional matchup. And the super regional matchup is going to be really tough if you're in, say, like you lucked out and you got to go to Gonzaga for your regional and you win that. Well, great. Now you have to play Vanderbilt. And I don't want Baylor to have to play Vanderbilt, please.
Or Arkansas for that matter. I mean, Arkansas is team of destiny this year. I mean, obviously you're an Arkansas fan. If Baylor has to go against them, I mean, there's no shot. Yeah. I would say 0 shot. There's just some teams that if Baylor has to face off against, they're just not going to win.
Right.
So we got to get kind of a lucky draw in combination with peaking at the right time.
I'd
be happy to go to a super regional, though. I think that's a win for Baylor baseball.
Oh, if Baylor goes to a super regional, it'll be huge. If Baylor goes to a super regional, that'd be huge. I'm looking at the rankings right now. So, number 1 team, Arkansas still. They've been there for forever. Vanderbilt, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's number 3 in BaseballAmerica.com's newest rankings. I wouldn't either. Texas at 4, then Tennessee 5, Mississippi State, Texas Tech at 7, according to Baseball America. Then Arizona, East Carolina, Stanford. Ole Miss is up to 11 now. They had teetered with being completely out of the top 25. Then you go Florida at 12, Oregon, UC Irvine, who I think Baylor could have a decent chance against just because Steve Rodriguez knows that West Coast style of baseball. North Carolina State, Charlotte. Florida State, Old Dominion, Nebraska, Gonzaga. TCU down to 21, according to Baseball America. I mean, that's out of hosting. Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss, Miami, South Carolina. So I think the problem here, Oklahoma State is not ranked. Oklahoma's not ranked. You've got a couple of those series losses that are going to look bad. Yeah, they're going to look bad for Baylor baseball going down the stretch. But I don't know. I'm thinking right now that if Baylor is able to go to one of those middle of the pack regionals, they could be safe. But like you said, if you go to Fayetteville, then I mean, what's your outlook there? No. You know, like is anybody going to get through the Fayetteville regional? I don't think so. I don't think you could be Tennessee or Vanderbilt and you're not getting through the Fayetteville regional. Yeah, it's unlikely. I mean, then again, you got to play the games. You know, if we're peaking, you know, we go in the first inning, we hit 12 home runs. I mean, we can win any game, but you got to hit 12 home runs. That's true. Debate that. So, I mean, you know, we could win against anyone at any time, but there's just some teams that, like, being a realist, you know, Baylor's not going to beat Arkansas. They're not going to beat some of these top 3 SEC schools that go against SEC talent every game day. So, got to win a game at the Big 12 tournament, which I still am not sure how it works. Got to win at least one game there. Hope we can get into the postseason, get a lucky draw, make a super regional, win the World Series. I don't know. So right now, collegebaseball.com has locks TCU, Texas Tech, Texas as locked in the tournament. Work left to do, Baylor and Oklahoma State. Need a miracle, Oklahoma. Wow. And they said that Oklahoma taking out Baylor would be their ticket in, and that would kind of flip Oklahoma and Baylor. So Oklahoma's not squarely in the tournament. As I thought they were done. I thought they were dead in the water. Now they got a shot since they won the series at Baylor. Baylor's got some work left to do. Are we in the need a miracle category? Not in need a miracle, but in between need a miracle and work left to do. Shoot. All right, yeah. So I mean that kind of changes the narrative. We got to go into the Big 12 tournament and win one, maybe at least one, hopefully 2. Sounds like that's what we got to do. Yeah, you're gonna have to do something pretty solid. If you beat Texas Tech, I think you're squarely in. But, man, it's going to be tough. No gimmies. 40 RPI is right on the bubble. That is a Baylor Baseball Outlook. When we come back from this break, softball recap from this past weekend. Baylor fell in Gainesville, Florida. Who's in, who's out, and how is the college softball landscape shaping up going into further postseason play? And then Matthew Poston joins the show at 1:05 today to talk about basketball. Some more Jared Butler talk. He's going to give his takes on Jared Butler, Matthew Meyer, and where he thinks those two guys will land if they go to the NBA and if he thinks they'll stay. I'm Drake Toll, Marquise Cooley, Jack McKenzie, Andrew Robertson, Armstrong Sims. This is Up Tempo.
Just steps away from glory, the Baylor men's tennis team came up just short in the national championship match on Saturday with a 4-1 loss to the number 1 seed Florida Gators. Despite winning the doubles point in convincing fashion, Florida took advantage late in the singles competition to secure the program's first win in history. Michael Woodson and company end their season with a program record 34 wins and a national runner-up finish. In baseball, Baylor took Game 1 9-5 against Oklahoma, but lost the series to the Sooners after a 10-6 and 6-5 finish on Friday and Saturday. It was a muggy weekend in Waco where both teams fought off rain on multiple occasions, and Baylor couldn't seem to find its stride offensively down the stretch. The Bears finished the regular season 31-18 and 11-13 in Big 12 play as they head to the conference tournament as a 6th seed to meet Texas Tech in round 1 in Bricktown on Wednesday. The Baylor softball team saw its season end over the weekend with an 0-2 performance in the Gainesville Regional. The team fell 2-0 in a tight pitcher's duel on Friday and finished on the wrong end of a 5-0 score Saturday as South Florida no-hit Baylor. The team finishes 27-23 on the year for the program's 14th NCAA postseason bid. In golf, the Lady Bears are past the third round and climbing with a 2/290 in the third round. The squad currently sits in 13th place overall at the NCAA Championships. The Lady Bears must move into 8th place or better in today's final round to advance to match play. And a couple of individual tennis players are in action in the singles and doubles championships in Orlando, as Adrian Boyton and the duo of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law play today. Also, guess who's back? Yeah, it's me, Armstrong. And Phil Mickelson won that thing, which was so awesome. Back from the dead, I'm Armstrong Sims. And that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Alan Samuels is celebrating Jeep Freedom Days. It's an exciting time for a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with up to $3,750 in values or 0% for 72 months. The new Jeep Cherokee Laredo is built tough, and with the Jeep Freedom Days going on now, it's a great time for a new Jeep SUV. Alan Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer. The best place to get your next SUV. Located at 201 West Loop 340, Alan Samuels is your friend in the car business.
Come by, let's be friends.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
No capes. Do you remember Thunderhead? Tall storm powers. Nice man. Good with kids.
Listen. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Dyna guy, snag on takeoff. Splashdown, sucked into a vortex. No kicks.
Here's Drake Toll and Armstrong Sims.
Welcome back into the Penny Clinic Low T Bears Den. The last time D1 Baseball released a field of 64 projection, Baylor was a 2 seed, for the Tucson, Arizona Regional with Arizona, Grand Canyon, Baylor, and Virginia Tech. All right, that's fine. I mean, baseball, there's so much parity in baseball. So much parity. Baylor could go anywhere except for probably Fayetteville, Knoxville, Knoxville, and Austin. Anything outside of that, and I've got a decent confidence that Baylor could hold their own or at least be okay. Not to Love. They wouldn't go to Lubbock either, so that you can just cross that one off. But Baylor's got a shot. They're probably 3 seed now. That might not that it will bode Baylor well to be a 3 seed, but what's the difference in a 3 seed and a 2 seed? Aside from being a home team in game 1, there's really none. College softball. Andrew, you're telling me you got to watch a lot of college softball this past weekend, didn't you?
I would say I would consider myself a live tracker. I like tracking the games, how they're going. I did watch a lot of softball. Unfortunately, not the Baylor game, but I was pretty well versed this weekend in softball because it was the only thing on. So I watched a little bit of that. I was pretty disappointed with the Bears' performance because we talked about how we had kind of high hopes they could get out of this region or at least win one game. That would have been pretty cool. Unfortunately, no. They won 0 games. They actually scored 0 runs. Yeah. Very unfortunate. There's really no other way to put it other than just unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a tough weekend for Baylor softball. It was Baylor, South Alabama, South Florida, and Florida in the Gainesville Regional down in the swamp. And Baylor softball was shut out against South Alabama. Very good pitching team. South Alabama beat Alabama 1-0. It was not a surprise. That was my floor. In my floor, I said Baylor could lose to South Alabama. What did I also say? The long ball was going to be a factor. What happened? South Alabama hit 2 one-run home runs. Well, that's what did it. South Florida lost to Florida in a tightly contested game, 1-0 in that first round game. Yeah, so it was Baylor, South Florida. South Florida's really good. South Florida proved that with a 5-0 win against your Lady Bears. Baylor was shut out in that game and finished the season in Gainesville 0-2, 7-0 combined score between those two games. Baylor fell. Pitching was solid for Baylor between Aaliyah Binford and Gia Radoni, but just couldn't pull it off. Number 1 seed Oklahoma set a record for most runs scored in a regional all time by a team. They beat Morgan a lot. Yep. Wow. They beat Oregon, They beat Morgan State, Texas A&M, Wichita State were the other 2 teams that were in the regional. They knocked off Wichita State a couple of times. Wichita State really good this year, and Oklahoma just ran over everybody in the regional. Washington beat Portland State. Michigan beat Seattle. Washington and Michigan met in the regional championship. I guess it's the regional semifinal, and Michigan won 2-0 against Washington. Really good pitcher's duel. Man. So Washington had to climb the way up out of the loser's bracket, play Michigan again. They won the first matchup in a tight late game. Then they had to play again, a second game, really, really, really late, and they pulled that one.
Wow, from the grave.
They were down 5-1 in an elimination game in the last game, down 5-1. Came back with a 7-run 5th inning to win that. Huge. And Washington moves on. Tennessee lost to James Madison. James Madison's only lost 1 game all year. They moved on to face Missouri. Missouri got out unscathed pretty easily from the Columbia Regional. Number 8 overall seed Missouri moving on. So it is Oklahoma and Washington in the Super. Missouri is hosting James Madison. Oklahoma State ran through Campbell, Boston, Mississippi State. They will play now Texas. Texas lost to Oregon in their championship game, but that was their first loss, so they got to play them again. They played that at 11 o'clock last night. Texas ended up winning that one on top of Oregon. Very close game. Oregon's coach actually left for Texas a couple of years ago, so it would have been really neat to see Texas win that one, or to see Oregon win that. But Texas moves on. Texas, Oklahoma State in Stillwater. OSU already swept Texas earlier this year. Those 2 teams meet in the Super Regional. Duke, hosting a regional, lost to Georgia.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Duke, the 13 seed. Georgia not seeded. And Georgia came away with a victory there. Georgia, too, was that I can see, they look like the 3 seed. So they came away with a win at Duke. Georgia and Florida will meet in a Super Regional because Florida ran
advanced.
Yeah, Florida ran right through Gainesville. Alabama didn't have a lot of issues. It's supposed to be Alabama and Clemson. It's going to be a huge matchup. Bama just pretty much wiped the floor with everybody in their regional. They moved on. Kentucky got jacked by Notre Dame. Came back to end up winning the regional. Kentucky moves on as well. Alabama, Kentucky meeting in the Supers. Arizona got past Ole Miss to move on. Arkansas ran through their regional. So it's Arizona and Arkansas in Fayetteville for the Super Regional there. LSU lost to Louisiana. Things got hairy for LSU there for a second. Thought maybe the Tigers would be going home, but championship matchup, elimination game. LSU came out on top. They advanced to a Super Regional. On the bottom side of them, Florida State was one of the first teams to advance to a Super Regional after walking through Kennesaw State, UCF, and Auburn. 15 seed Arizona State. They were gone very quickly too.
It's tough.
BYU, Virginia Tech, Arizona State were the big names to watch in that regional. And Virginia Tech, so BYU beat Arizona State, and you're like, all right, maybe BYU's going to go. BYU swept Baylor. They're a really good team. They played a good season. Virginia Tech for the ACC kind of came out of nowhere, knocked off BYU, and now they are moving on to a Super Regional. So Virginia Tech will play the winner of the UCLA Regional, which UCLA, number 2 team in the country, they were down to Fresno State there momentarily. Fresno State gave them a great run for their money, but UCLA, 41-4 record coming into the postseason, ended up getting it done against Fresno State, Minnesota, Long Beach State, and taking it to the Super Regionals. So the field of 64, and the teams are dwindling down. Baylor, like you said, not a run. They weren't able to put up a run, not even one in the regional this past weekend, huh? You
I have a stat for you.
Yeah, what's your stat?
Teams who have scored less than 1 run have never won a game. How do you win a game with 0 runs?
I would probably have to look that up in the break.
You're telling me that a 0-run team has won a game?
I'd probably have to look it up in the break. I bet there's a way somehow, somewhere.
There is not. No.
There has been a perfect game before that a team lost. A team has lost a perfect game before.
How?
Softball, international tiebreaker. International tiebreaker put a runner at second base.
Okay, yeah.
And then first pitch, runner steals third.
Sure, why not?
Second pitch.
But they scored, right?
Second pitch gets away from the catcher. Runner scores.
Right, but they scored.
Perfect game.
Perfect game, but 1-0 final.
Right, but there's no hits, no errors, no walks. Perfect game.
You can't win with 0 runs.
And you lose. But you can lose a perfect game. You threw a perfect game, you lost.
Well, that might be true. That's not what I said.
Yeah, I know it's not what you said at all. I just thought that was a fun little tidbit. That's a stat that I wanted to throw out there. But yeah, that's how your field is shaking out in softball. Baylor out, their season done with Coach Glenn Moore and company. 27-23, I think, was their final record. A lot of injuries. A lot of injuries they battled through. They made the postseason for the 14th time in program history. So, people take that for granted, but Baylor softball has been really, really good the last couple of decades, and they'll be back.
Yeah.
I'm Drake Toll. We got Andrew Robertson, Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie, and Marquise Cooley. When we come back, Matthew Postins, Heartland College Sports, joins the show. We're going to talk some college basketball, Jared Butler, Matthew Meyer, a couple of these transfers, and how the NBA draft is going to shake out for some of these Baylor guys, where he projects Davion Mitchell to be, Maceo Teague, Mark Vital, best case scenarios for those guys. When we come back, we're talking college basketball with Matthew Postins. This is Up Tempo.
Just steps away from glory, the Baylor men's tennis team came up just short in the national championship match on Saturday with a 4-1 loss to the number 1 seed Florida Gators. Despite winning the doubles point in convincing fashion, Florida took advantage late in the singles competition to secure the program's first win in history. Michael Woodson and company end their season with a program record 34 wins and a national runner-up finish. In baseball, Baylor took Game 1 9-5 against Oklahoma, but lost the series to the Sooners after a 10-6 and 6-5 finish on Friday and Saturday. It was a muggy weekend in Waco where both teams fought off rain on multiple occasions, and Baylor couldn't seem to find its stride offensively down the stretch. The Bears finished the regular season 31-18 and 11-13 in Big 12 play as they head to the conference tournament as a 6th seed to meet Texas Tech in round 1 in Bricktown on Wednesday. The Baylor softball team saw its season end over the weekend with an 0-2 performance in the Gainesville Regional. The team fell 2-0 in a tight pitcher's duel on Friday and finished on the wrong end of a 5-0 score Saturday as South Florida no-hit Baylor. The team finishes 27-23 on the year for the program's 14th NCAA postseason bid. In golf, the Lady Bears are past the 3rd round and climbing with a 2/290 in the 3rd round. The squad currently sits in 13th place overall at the NCAA Championships. The Lady Bears must move into 8th place or better in today's final round to advance to match play. And a couple of individual tennis players are in action in the singles and doubles championships in Orlando, as Adrian Boyton and the duo of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law play today. Also, guess who's back? Yeah, it's me, Armstrong. And Phil Mickelson won that thing, which was so awesome. Back from the dead, I'm Armstrong Sims. And that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
I got breaking news here. We got Western Athletic Conference just announced they're adding several schools.
The WAC.
The WAC.
Okay. Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
I think Coach Gundy would be like my guy that I would just like just the hair. Yeah. I just want to be able to see it flow when I kind of slam his arm down.
Here's Drake Toll.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Drake Toll alongside Armstrong, Sims, Andrew Robertson, Jack McKenzie, and Marquise Cooley today. Happy Monday, folks. Rounding out and starting your 1 o'clock hour today, talking some hoops. I know we've had a tennis show today. We're joined now by Matthew Postins of Heartland College Sports. Matthew, are you a big men's collegiate tennis guy?
Admittedly, I am not. But I know that Baylor had a pretty big weekend last weekend. So did the University of Texas women's team. They won a national championship. So But no, I don't follow it on a regular basis, unfortunately. I noticed you on Twitter were doing your best to try and convert tennis for football, which was interesting to watch.
There was it took a lot of effort to try to. There's not really a metric that would make the two. I mean, your conversion there is really tough, but I tried my best, and I realized a lot of Baylor fans don't know very much at all about tennis, and I would have been in that corner if it had been 3 months ago. But we're I guess Baylor's a tennis school now. Is that kind of how this should go?
I guess so. You win a championship, or you get close to a championship. Yeah, you're a fill in the blank sports school.
Lock it in. Baylor's part men's basketball, part tennis, judging by the course of this year. Well, Matthew, outside of that, you've got really what Baylor's been able to put together. We talked about the transfers and how well with James Akinjo and now Dale Bonner that Scott Drew has reloaded with this team, losing a good group of seniors and guys that have pro aspirations, but we discussed this probably a couple weeks ago, and it's still on top of everybody's mind, and that's the fact that we're now less than 1 week away from the NBA declaration deadline, and Jared Butler has been silent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that last night. I did my kind of my weekend check. Once the season ends, I'm following kids, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, to try to see if they declare. And Jared is the one guy who has been very silent. Graduated from Baylor on the 9th, got his number retired at his high school, but he's been largely quiet on social media aside from those two things. And you're right, the deadline is the 30th. They've got to declare by then. I still believe firmly that at some point in the next few days he will declare for the draft, because the last CBS Sports mock draft that I saw, they had Butler going to the Warriors at number 19. I think he's a solid first-round pick at this point. I think he could be a good fit for a team that is already a contender. That seems to be kind of where he's falling in mock drafts right now. So if he is debating it at this point, he's debating something that we haven't thought of. Usually it's about, I've done everything I can do in college. Maybe I need to go to the pros to take care of my family. Maybe I'm just ready to move on to the next stage of my life. He's technically has 2 years of eligibility left. So there must be something that he's rolling over in his mind that we haven't thought of yet. And we will only know when he makes his decision one way or the other.
Matthew, in your experience covering college basketball and the caliber of players in the Big 12, what is the typical timeline? How does that usually look when it comes to guys that do declare?
Usually they declare pretty soon after the season ends, but this has been a different period because usually the declaration period is earlier this month, in a typical NBA timeline. But because the NBA season started later, because the playoffs are ending in July, because the draft is in July, because they haven't quite reset to the normal schedule, they pushed back the declaration period to the end of the month. And now that you have the unfettered transfer rule, athletes have other things they can weigh too. For instance, Jalen Coleman-Lands, who was the second leading scorer at Iowa State last year, he was debating whether he would even come back and use his COVID year because he's played 6 years of college basketball. Started at Illinois, went to DePaul, went to Iowa State. He's now transferred to Kansas, but his name is still in the draft pool. So he can go to the NBA, he can go to Kansas, or he could just kind of, tie off like a calf and say, I'm done, I'm out. So there's more to weigh now for these kids than there was maybe a couple of years ago. So that could be part of why it's taking Jared longer to make his decision, or maybe he just wants to be really dramatic and do it at the last minute.
Matthew, I'm looking elsewhere across the conference at guys that either should have transferred or should have gone or have made announcements, and most everybody has pretty much declared where they're going to go. I mean, I think Mac McClung is really one of the more recent ones that I'm looking at as a guy that made a pretty monumental decision that's going to affect his respective program. That being said, Jared Butler, having not yet said anything, is that really the biggest news when it comes to pro prospects out of the Big 12 this offseason?
That's it. I mean, that's the one guy we're waiting on. Now the next stage after that will be after the deadline in the 30th. If you haven't hired an agent, and a lot of these Big 12 players who are in the draft pool have not hired an agent yet, they can actually go through the entire scouting process from meeting with teams to going through the NBA Combine in June to everything else that goes along with that. And they don't have to withdraw their name from the draft until July 19th. So they've got another month and a half to where they can weigh their options. So that becomes the next big waiting period for some of these guys like Sean McNeil at West Virginia and Taz Sherman at West Virginia. There are a lot of guys in the pool, Ochai Agbaji at Kansas. They've all left their eligibility open, so they're weighing their options. And because of the new rules that allows them to compete in the combine if they're invited, that gives them another data point to really figure out if the NBA is the right thing for them now or maybe a year or two from now.
Matthew, along with that, you got Matthew Meyer from Baylor, who has already declared that he would test draft waters but leave his eligibility open, not hire an agent. And we're now, again, 6 days away from really that time period where a guy's got to make a decision. And he's been effectively silent so far. Is that typical of a guy like, not a guy like Matthew Meyer, maybe personality-wise, but somewhat of his caliber athletically?
Well, I think that everybody agrees that he has the body type and the game to be an NBA player. I think the decision he's weighing is, does it make sense for me to go now, or does it make sense for me to go a year from now? And the nice thing for him is, like I said, even though he's in the draft pool, he doesn't have to take his name out until July 19th. So he has a month and a half to make a decision, and he can go through the entire scouting process and get his report card and then come back to Baylor. And Jared Butler used that information to great effect last year because he got a lot of great information from the league about what he needed to work on as a player. He was kind of considered a borderline first-round pick last year. Now he's a solid first-round pick. They told him he needed to shoot better from the mid-range. They told him he needed to become a better defender. They told him he needed to, show that he could run the point more. He did all those things during the season this past year for Baylor, winning a national championship. So he took the feedback from the league and he improved. Mayer's the same way. He could take all that feedback and improve as a player next year. He's doing exactly what he should be doing because I don't think he's a draftable player this year. Not that he's not an NBA caliber prospect, but this is such a deep draft when it comes to college talent because some of the ones that would have gone early last year stuck around another year because of COVID. So players like a Macio Teague, who, to me is a late first, early second round guy, honestly, he might not get drafted because there are so many good college players in this draft and so few good international players in this draft that some of these guys who might be taken in normal drafts are going to get pushed out of the draft and become undrafted free agents.
Matthew, looking at Matthew Meyer and what you've seen from him in the collegiate game, say he goes this year, he's teetering right now at that 60th pick. I mean, he would be lucky, in my opinion, to be drafted. With his body type and what you've seen of him on the floor, what is his ceiling when it comes to NBA draft next season?
Next season, honestly, he could be a first-round pick because what scouts, I think, are going to tell him they like his length. They like his three-point shooting. You love a 6'7", 6'8" guy that can shoot as well as he can shoot from the three-point line. You love the fact that he can put the ball on the floor and drive to the basket. He plays good defense. He's got good floor instincts. I think what scouts are going to tell him to work on is probably being a little bit more assertive offensively. Now, he's played with a lot of assertive players the last few years, so you can't really blame him for being more of a secondary option in this offense. I think given the opportunity to be an assertive player, he can be a more assertive player. And I think they're going to want him to become a bit more of a show that he can be a bit more of a rim protector as opposed to just being an on-ball defender. So I don't think he has to do a lot of fine-tuning to his game because he already has the kind of game that NBA scouts like from a large small forward or a small power forward. He can kind of fit into both of those spots. But I think they're going to want to see improvement defensively, protecting the rim, and showing you can be more assertive on offense, especially one-on-one.
Matthew, back to the Jared Butler front, the fact that he did declare last year very early on in that process to at least test the draft waters, does that make it even more puzzling that he's not made a decision yet, or is that something you've seen across collegiate basketball?
I've seen that before. I mean, I think when you declare that early and you leave your eligibility open, I think you're pretty much telegraphing to your coach there at college, in this case, Scott Drew, that, chances are good I'm coming back. I just want to see what kind of feedback I get because you can't get that feedback from the NBA until you declare. So you have to put your name in the pool to get into the scouting process. go through, the kind of scouting feedback you get from the NBA and from individual teams. You can't get that any other way. So when you declare as early as he did last year, that told me he's probably coming back and just wants to get his report card so he can get better. Because what I think a lot of folks don't understand is that the NBA draft is only 60 picks. It's 2 rounds. And there's a lot more security in being a lottery pick than there is in being a mid-first round pick. There's a little more security in being a mid to late first round pick than there is in being a second round pick from a contract standpoint. It's a big difference between a first round pick and a second round pick. And when you don't get drafted, if you're out of eligibility, you're pretty much out there on your own. It worked out for Freddie Gillespie this year. He went from being a G League guy to being a part-time starter for the Raptors at the end of the season, but it doesn't always work out for every player that goes through that process.
Matthew, you mentioned that. I mean, Freddie Gillespie and what he's done in the NBA already, earning a contract from the Raptors, being able to go G League, D3, D1 G League, all the way here to the NBA. And that now I look at a guy like Mark Vidal that's trying to do what I would say is comparable from Baylor to the league and trying to build his way up. I mean, when it comes to Mark Vidal or Maceo Teague, do either of those guys get drafted? And really, what is their path to possibly playing pro basketball?
I think there's a strong chance that Teague gets drafted. It might not be till the second round, but I think there's a chance he gets drafted. And I think one thing that scouts are really going to focus on is his shot. He's got that little hitch in it. Now, here's what a scout told me a long time ago. There are guys out there who shoot the ball a million different ways. As long as it's repeatable and it's successful, I don't worry about it. Look at Tyrese Halliburton, Iowa State. He had a different kind of shot coming out of college. Kings really didn't mess with it that much. He's a Rookie of the Year finalist. His shot was repeatable and successful. Maceo's shot is the same way. You combine his defense, his ball handling ability, the fact that he can play both guard positions, I think there's a distinct possibility that he gets drafted. He just might have to wait until the second round to get drafted. As for Vidal, I don't think he gets drafted. That said, I don't think he'll be waiting very long to get a training camp invite or an off-season contract from an NBA team. Even though he's not the kind of player that can create his own shot offensively, he can do everything else. Rebound, defend, shot block. I mean, for crying out loud, he does the alley-oop dunk at 6'5". The thing is, once you get past your top 2 or 3 players in the NBA on your team, you're looking for guys who can fill roles. You're looking for your 3-and-D guy, your backup center, your backup point guard, your backup defensive guard. And he's a guy, because he can do so many different things for you, he can fill 2 or 3 of those spots with just one person. I see him as somebody who ends up with a team that values defense and rebounding and all those intangible things that he provides, probably playing on a 2-way contract, which means he can go between the G League and the NBA during a normal season. And, maybe he might end up being that guy that plays for 10 or 15 years and has 2 or 3 NBA championship rings, because he does all the dirty work that some guys just don't want to do.
The big Zach Randolph kind of guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, at 6'5", though, how much does that stifle what Vidal could do in the NBA?
It'll stifle him to a certain degree, because he's just not a guy that can create his own shot. But I see him as the guy that you play 10, 15 minutes a game, and you put him in for your best off guard, and you make sure that when he comes in, he's defending the other team's best guard, because you want to make those 10 or 15 minutes for that opposing guard as tortuous for him as possible. There are very few guards in the NBA that can rebound the way he can. I can tell you that right now, just watching the NBA a lot. That's going to be something that teams are going to be very, very interested in from his perspective. And he's an incredibly good defensive player. He's going to pick up 3 or 4 loose balls in a game just from effort. And not every NBA player out there, frankly, puts forth that kind of effort to get on the floor like he does and grab loose balls. There's a lot of intangibles that won't be in a box score, that'll probably lead some NBA fans to question why he's even on a roster. But those things are valuable to NBA GMs and their coach. Honestly, a coach like Rick Carlisle in Dallas would love him. Absolutely love playing him 10 or 12 minutes a game and just say, go defend that guy, make his life miserable, and then come back and see me in a few minutes.
Matthew, when it comes to Davion Mitchell, I mean, his intangibles, the defense that he's brought, and now his elevated shot that he's shown, a lot of mock drafts have him in that 5 to 10 range. I think 5 may be a little bit high, 10 a little bit low. But with him, What do you see from Davion Mitchell that's going to make him a solid NBA guy? And does he have playing prospect in year one if he lands in that 7 or 8 range?
If he lands in that range, he's going to play. I don't see a team in the top 10, and admittedly, we haven't had the lottery yet. That happens in June. I don't see a team that would likely be among that top 10 that wouldn't need help on the perimeter. So I think the reason that he's ahead of Butler now is just the way his shot has ballooned percentage-wise from last year to this year. He showed a great deal of improvement in his three-point shot, and in the NBA, you need to have a mid-range game, but it's not as emphasized with guards as much as making the three-point shot. So the fact that he can shoot well from three, defend, run the point, play off guard, do all these really good things in combination, it makes him attractive to a team like Toronto, who in the last mock draft that I saw, he was attached to them at number 9. The Raptors could use some help on the perimeter. Maybe he doesn't start right away because the Raptors are already a fairly good team, but he plays, to me, he plays 15 to 20 minutes right off the bat, barring injury or barring just an inability to grasp what his team wants from him, which I honestly don't think will happen.
And then looking elsewhere across the conference, that every week there are 3 or 4 guys that end up coming out and saying, hey, either I'm transferring, I'm going to the NBA, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Looking at, you got Texas Tech gets Daniel Batcho, Oklahoma, Alondas Williams off to Wake Forest, and then Jalen Coleman lands. I mean, I don't know what's going on between Kansas and Iowa State right now, but we're just throwing guys back and forth. What do you make of those moves, and will any of those really be how big will those be for each team?
Well, Coleman lands he has potential to make a big impact on Kansas because he's a good scorer. He's a good defender. He could be taking Ochai Agbaji's spot in the starting lineup if he decides to go to the NBA. If he decides to come back, then it's him and Coleman lands in the backcourt. So they've got a really solid tandem there, plus some of the other transfers they've brought in. They've brought a lot of offense in from a transfer standpoint, but Coleman lands really fits something they needed, a player that can shoot the three, defend, and drive to the basket. Batcho didn't play at all last year. So he's a very unknown quantity, going to Texas Tech. He's going to get playing time because they've turned over that roster, pretty much about halfway from what it was after Chris Beard left. He played well in Europe. He's shown himself to be a double-double type of player in the European game. It remains to be seen whether he could actually translate that into the American game. But the thing is, because he redshirted last year and they're getting the extra year of COVID, I think he might have 5 years of eligibility left. It's sometimes hard to track all that. And then looking at Alondas Williams moving to Wake Forest, good player, hurts Oklahoma because he was a part-time starter and a good perimeter player for them, and because when you consider that Harmon had left, Manick had left, Reeves had left, he was in line to play a lot of minutes next year had he stayed at Oklahoma. But moving to Wake Forest, he's going to move to one of the premier conferences in college basketball. I don't know that his playing time is going to go up, honestly, with the Demon Deacons, but at least he'll get to see Brady again, at least once next season when they play each other, whether it be in Winston-Salem or in Chapel Hill.
Nice. Well, Matthew, before we let you get out of here, we got our Bear Games question of the day. Baylor men's tennis just played the national championship, so we're focusing on them. If you've got to take those guys to celebrate, you're helping them celebrate, you're taking them out to a restaurant somewhere, anywhere in the country. I mean, you could fly them to New York if you wanted to, or you could go down the street here to Arby's. Either or. I mean, where are you taking these guys to help celebrate Baylor men's tennis?
Oh, wow. Let's think about this for a second here. I think that I would. Let's take them to Wimbledon. I mean, there's got to be a pub nearby. There's probably a pub a block away from Wimbledon. Let's get some fish and chips in them. Get them some beer and get them a day pass at Wimbledon. I'm sure they would enjoy the heck out of that. That'd be a nice celebration for a tennis team coming off a national championship.
Boom, Wimbledon. Yeah, that's the best answer we've gotten so far today. The most applicable, I guess. That works for me plenty, and I'm sure it will for them too. Matthew Postins, thanks so much for joining the show, as always. Love getting your basketball takes.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, Matthew Postins of Heartland College Sports joining the show as always on your Monday. When we come back, Alex Gruskin, national tennis analyst of Great Shot Pod, joins the show again to talk to us about, Baylor men's tennis, who competed in a national championship over the weekend. I'm Drake Toll. We got Marquise Cooley, Andrew Robertson, Armstrong Sims, and Jack McKenzie. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
Just steps away from glory, the Baylor men's tennis team came up just short in the national championship match on Saturday with a 4-1 loss to the number 1 seed Florida Gators. Despite winning the doubles point in convincing fashion, Florida took advantage late in the singles competition to secure the program's first win in history. Michael Woodson and company end their season with a program record 34 wins and a national runner-up finish. In baseball, Baylor took Game 1 9-5 against Oklahoma, but lost the series to the Sooners after a 10-6 and 6-5 finish on Friday and Saturday. It was a muggy weekend in Waco where both teams fought off rain on multiple occasions, and Baylor couldn't seem to find its stride offensively down the stretch. The Bears finished the regular season 31-18 and 11-13 in Big 12 play as they head to the conference tournament as a 6th seed to meet Texas Tech in round 1 in Bricktown on Wednesday. The Baylor softball team saw its season end over the weekend with an 0-2 performance in the Gainesville Regional. The team fell 2-0 in a tight pitcher's duel on Friday and finished on the wrong end of a 5-0 score Saturday as South Florida no-hit Baylor. The team finishes 27-23 on the year for the program's 14th NCAA postseason bid. In golf, the Lady Bears are past the third round and climbing with a 2/290 in the third round. The squad currently sits in 13th place overall at the NCAA Championships. The Lady Bears must move into 8th place or better in today's final round to advance to match play. And a couple of individual tennis players are in action in the singles and doubles championships in Orlando, as Adrian Boyton and the duo of Konstantin Franzen and Sven Law play today. Also, guess who's back? Yeah, it's me, Armstrong. And Phil Mickelson won that thing, which was so awesome. Back from the dead, I'm Armstrong Sims. And that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Armstrong's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, for qualified buyer with 4,000 down at 2.9% TTL extra. See deal for details.
Travel is back, and so are the savings at the Memorial Day Savings Event at Richard Carr. Hit the road in a 2016 Buick Encore for only $152 a month, a 2016 GMC Sierra for only $318 a month, a 2018 Mercedes GLA for $334 a month, or a 2015 GMC Terrain for only $135 a month. 100% credit approval is always our goal. It's a Memorial Day Savings Event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll for a Baylor take on your lunch break.
And welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Monday, everybody. Rounding out your last half hour today. Look, I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. We are a tennis show. We here at Up Tempo started as a Baylor sports program, and we have somehow morphed into the second premier college tennis show right behind the Great Shot Pod. And speaking of, the host of the Great Shot Pod now joins us in Alex Gruskin. Alex, the last time we saw you, the Baylor Bears had not lost a national championship, so this feels just a little bit weird, but here we are.
If you want to throw the blame on me, and first of all, always a pleasure to be joining you. Thank you for having me. But you could argue the Bears are 0-1 since I've appeared on this show. So I appreciate the invite back. I wasn't sure if I was going to get it, but look, college tennis is contagious. I know after a year and a half of a pandemic, that's not the best word to use, but it really is. And despite the loss, I thought the Baylor Bears comported themselves so well. There's a lot to celebrate this season if you're a Bear fan.
Yeah, Alex, definitely we talked to our producers and the owners, and it was split. It was half and half between whether or not you could come back. And here you are. I guess I won the battle, thankfully, on this one. And I'll tell you what, watching Baylor play in the national championship on Saturday at what felt, I'm sure it was like midnight local time. I mean, it just seemed like that Texas Pepperdine match dragged on. But the crowd, the atmosphere, take us through, for those that couldn't be there, what the entire match in itself was like.
It was special. It embodied everything that college tennis is supposed to be about. And for those of you who have never attended a college tennis match, what makes it so different than your normal tennis affairs, it's not stuffy. You have people over the bleachers and slamming their hands and getting as loud as they possibly can. I think, I'm never going to misspell Baylor. I was probably never going to misspell it anyways, but the amount of Baylor, or the amount of go Bears, just on and on and on. And look, I think the place to start is, it was an away match for the Baylor Bears, and that was something I did not do a good enough job of anticipating. Should have prepared all of you for that fact. I think there were 500, maybe more, from this Gainesville crowd who made the drive over. And ultimately, with the margins being as thin as they were between these teams, that to me was the biggest difference. The energy, the atmosphere in the building. It was such a partisan crowd towards Florida, and I will love this Baylor Bears team. They were one of my fondest teams to cover in my time covering this sport. But ultimately, you talk about that atmosphere. That was the difference. It wasn't anything on the court. It was the fact that Florida had that crowd in the background, it felt like, to propel them over the finish line. And, before Baylor fans get angry, let's be clear, Baylor got to host one of these NCAA championships back in, I believe, 2015 was back when the event was there. I'm sure it will come back to Waco sometime as well. But you want to know the biggest difference is absolutely what you start with right there, that energy level just through the roof here, even as we got towards midnight, 12:30. It was special.
I tell you, 2025, the Herd Tennis Center is going to host again, and I'm sure the crowd will be raucous. Then it's like you said, you and I say Baylor. It's more of a Baylor, and then just the Bears chant just comes, and that's the best. Those guys all went to a softball game. I don't know how they got them there, but the entire tennis team about 3 weeks ago showed up at a softball game, and just at random in the third inning, Baylor, and the whole place just unloads. The energy of this team is immaculate, to say the least.
I mean, Ryan Dickey, Ryan Dickerson, who we affectionately referred to on our show as that name. I mean, I asked him, what's your diet this week? What's the green tea to just life ratio? How many times are you peeing because of all the fluids you've had to keep to have your voice going? And he's like, Alex, it's a 12 bottle of water day for me each and every day. And yeah, I mean, seriously, it's funny. I think the reason they don't get that Baylor pronunciation right is because you got double the Fronsons, the Sotos, the Laws of the world. But, again, Baylor. You could hear it echoing through the crowd. And I have to give credit to the Waco faithful. They traveled. There were certainly some Bears in the crowd. And, again, I have to give credit to this Baylor team for them to come out and punch Florida in the face like they did in doubles. That was so impressive. But, I mean, again, it was the energy level of that Florida crowd, I thought, that ultimately helped propel the Gators to the championship. I'm not even allowed to say the F word, not the 4-letter F word, but the state I'm in right now, or is that banned? I know I followed the tweets. I'm a fan, Drake, as you know. I know you almost got into a little road rage incident with a Florida license plate earlier this week.
We had Sam Gore on the show earlier today, and he told us that no matter what, we have to love Florida because the head coach's son won the match for them. So apparently that's supposed to make it all better for us and be the Band-Aid for the boo-boo, is the fact that they won it on the coach's son.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, look, that match in particular was the swing match. Charlie Broome came out firing at 5 singles. And I will say Charlie Broome, a close friend, he played 4 years at Dartmouth with a buddy of mine before getting his master's in tennis at Baylor. And yeah, I love Charlie. He'd be the first to admit it. The crowd got to him. He lost confidence in his forehand. Again, Ben Shelton played a great match. This is not to take anything away from the Gators. They earned it. They're your national champions thoroughly this season, but I would have loved to see that match played on a neutral site. And we're all happy to have fans and some sense of normalcy back in our lives, except for maybe Michael Woodson, who was like, can we get COVID protocols for this match? Can we do it without fans? Can we just play straight up? Let's see who the more talented team is, because one could legitimately argue that if this was a neutral site match, the Baylor Bears take it, especially given the fact that they took that doubles point.
Alex, that's really
Not
where
to make excuses.
Right, of course. I mean, but it was, like you said, Baylor punched Florida in the mouth. I mean, the doubles point itself was crucial for Baylor because of how good Florida's singles players are. But not only that, I mean, you look at the doubles point, Baylor's got the momentum, the crowd. You could see, Florida's on their heels. They seem stunned across a TV set. And then you go into singles, and pretty early on through a couple of those games in singles, and it's like, okay, I mean, Baylor's still rolling a bit, aside from Adrian Boitan, who at first you're like, oh, well, shoot, that's going to be a quick one. And then next thing you know, it was his court that was the difference in that everybody else starts really hot. Adrian starts slow. You get into it now. Adrian's the only one late that was really closing things out. But Baylor to start was unbelievably good.
And to your point, I'm gonna push back, but in a pro Baylor fashion. So I think you're gonna like it. Nicky Stakowiak, my boy, was outstanding in his first set. And just some context in case, I know this is a tennis show, so you're well aware of this fact. I don't need to tell you. And by the way, to be compared to say you are a cross between myself and Kirk Herbstreit, I have never been more flattered, my friend. That was perhaps the nicest thing I've heard all week here down in Orlando. And you did an excellent job with your metaphors that are up a field goal. There was a missed extra point, an onside kick. I was in on all of it. I think that's a good analogy. And again, something we talk about on our Cracked Rackets Great Shot podcast, go to crackedrackets.com. You can find all of our thoughts on everything. There's plug number one, is the fact that, match calculus wise in tennis, as much as there's 6 individual singles matches and the doubles point, it's really just finding your pathway to 4 points in a dual match. Baylor was halfway there. They took the doubles. They got 3 first sets, in particular for Nick Stakowiak to get a first set over an undefeated Blaise Bicknell at 4 singles. For Adrian Boitan, as you mentioned, to go down an early break, but then win that first set against Duarte Valle at the number 1 singles position. And then for Charlie Broome, looked like he was cruising at number 5 singles over a freshman. And you think fifth-year senior on paper against a freshman, you kind of like that matchup if you're the Bears. There is no doubt the Bears made their push. The first hour and a half probably went about as close to script as Coach Woodson could have expected. But again, this is where college tennis is a match and a sport of momentum shifts. And once Florida got that momentum, once Riffis got the set on 2, Andy Andrade played so well for Florida at number 3 singles. And I think he took a tiebreaker in his first set over Sven Laub. And then, for them, Goodger versus Furman, for them to get that match as well. You could just feel the tides begin to turn, and the crowd won the match for Ben Shelton. There's not a doubt in my mind. At neutral site, Charlie beats him, like he really does. But Ben embraced the crowd, and I do think Charlie blinked a little bit, with all due respect. Again, if he hears this, and I know he will, I love you, Charlie. But that was the difference. It's just Baylor made their push. It just, in tennis, you got to make the push 2 hours long to get over the finish line. It was only an hour and a half for the Bears.
Alex, I want your perspective too. You get that grueling match against Tennessee where Baylor just goes. I followed that so closely because at any point in time, it felt like, all right, one of these teams is going to pull away late, and it took so long for someone to actually pull away. I look at that and I think, man, you got the TCU match, which just takes a lot out of you because you're playing a rival. You go Tennessee down to the wire. Then you go Florida in the national championship match. I mean, these guys are playing tennis after tennis after tennis 3 straight days. What kind of toll does that take on these athletes? I mean, basketball players get a week to prepare for the championship. Yeah. I mean, this is so different.
Well, they say tennis players aren't tough. To that I say, like, clearly we are very, very tough as a duo. Clearly, again, we can play consecutive days. And are we getting tackled out there? No, but you go side to side for 2.5 hours in 90-degree heat and then try playing and doing the exact same thing the next day. I would say, though, the broader point, and it's just not even a disagreement, but I think where it manifested itself was the fact of how late this match started. And this was a match scheduled for 7:30, and it's a joke for them to have thought that any time, like the first final was scheduled for 5:30, the second final not scheduled before 7:30. For anyone to think a college tennis match is going to last only 2 hours, particularly a national championship match, you're just asking to screw over who's ever scheduled to play that later match. And having been on the grounds, the Bears warmed up like 7 different times. And that, to me, was what could have made a difference as that match went on, because it's not just the physical toll of having to play 3 matches in 3 days. It was the fact of we started, we stop again. We're going to go get a snack. Now we're going to go back on court. Oh, it's snack time number 2. Normally I would be a fan of that, but now I realize I have to go play a tennis match. And it's just, the rhythms for all of these Baylor Bears were thrown off, where on the flip side, this was Florida's 3rd consecutive night match, and maybe even 4th night match of the event down here in Orlando. I think they were the night session each and every week. And again, I'm not making excuses. Baylor didn't lose the match. Florida won it. But it's the little things, especially with the margins as thin as they are, that make the difference. And to your point, you're absolutely right. To have to warm up and then re-warm up over and over and over again, that certainly manifested itself once the clock hit 11:30 midnight and the Gators made their push.
Alex, going into that match and even coming out of it, I'm sure every year you get a case of a ton of random niche fans. I say random, a ton of niche fans that are just diehard on the sport. And then whichever school makes it to the championship, there's that other few hundred, few thousand that jump on Twitter or jump into an arena or a stadium somewhere. And I'm sure you saw that with Baylor and Florida. I mean, what kind of precedent does this set with a school that shows, hey, we're going to play on a national scale for men's tennis?
It was everything. It was absolutely everything. And I mean, down to yourself, Drake. I know you've mentioned it and you say it jokingly, but sincerely, you guys are a tennis show now. I can't tell you another local radio station, another local, fan group that has featured tennis this prominently in their shows. And it's a testament to the success of these Baylor Bears that you've been able to do so. And I mean, you followed the match. Even I imagine on the TV, I'm going to flip this on you as all good interviewees do. From your home, could you feel that atmosphere? Could you feel that crowd? Because I know in there it was electric. And I say this lovingly. I hope everyone in the crowd was vaccinated, because if one freaking person had COVID, that thing was a super spreader. And of course, that is not something to joke about, but that speaks to shoulder to shoulder. It was packed. People were loose as well. There was a healthy amount of tailgating from this Florida crowd going into the match. I almost got in a fist fight myself, and I'm freaking media. And I was like, don't yell. I was like, dude, you're being, like, one guy was just, he was going after Nick Stokowiak, and I think he got booted because, like, nothing he said was making sense. He was like, oh, the ball was in. And it's like, you're watching, I think you're looking backwards, my friend. I don't know if you're looking at the right thing, but again, to flip this on you, it's contagious, right? I'm sorry to keep using that word. College tennis, the environment, the atmosphere, it just feels like the intimacy of it as a member of the crowd, you make a little bit more of a difference than you would at a football game, at a basketball game. And I think that's what makes college tennis special.
I would be surprised if anyone who watched that match, especially they watched it like I did, didn't just hook right on. I mean, there was a point where 100%. Adrian wins that first point, and I just, like, off the couch, my family members left the room because I had become so insufferable in my excitement over tennis. And I'm sure anybody else that watched it, even if they're unfamiliar with the sport, you could just see the passion and the energy. Sam Gore, credit to him, is a man of few words in the best way possible. I mean, he lets the game speak for itself so well. So you could really hear the crowd. You could see the athletes and the emotion, and he helped paint that picture by letting the picture paint itself. And I think that was a big I want to give plug to him as well. But yeah, you could feel it from the couch, and I know that you could feel it there. And Alex, to you, I mean, with this, talk about the precedent this sets for Baylor tennis, the fans, the sport, and how this is great. It's always great for the sport when a fan base can latch on. I mean, moving forward with Michael Woodson and this staff, he's got Isaac and those guys, you got to think this is not the last time Baylor will be on that stage.
I think George Goldhoff, the volunteer assistants, the linchpin. I said this last time. Woodson, Isak, they're garbage. They're useless. No, they're exceptional. And again, Coach Woodson's ability to build a program, to take the reins and just go running with them. It's a testament to his. Again, he was handed a super team. There's no denying that, and yet it's a lot harder to make those pieces fit. I know early in the season, doubles was absolutely a struggle for the Bears, and Charlie Broom and Finn Bass, they were the all-tournament team number 3 doubles selection. They went 4-0 on the week. They were exceptional. And yeah, you bring back your top 3, right? Adrian Boitan, if you've never watched tennis before, you're like, is it possible to hit a ball that hard? And then he does it on the next point and the next point and the next point. And he's only going to get better. And, again, he played this guy, Jan Magnus Johnson, yesterday against Florida Gulf Coast in the first round of the NCAA individual tournament, who, if you just read his name quickly, is Jamungus Johnson, which is beautiful. And he got a win. And, like, Matias Soto's coming back. You're not going to have a conversation with a college coach about Baylor without them bringing up the talent of Matias Soto. Sven Law, after struggling the first 4 months of the season, has found his rhythm once again. He and Connie Franzen could absolutely win the individual doubles. And then, again, whether it's Garcia, whether it's Finn Bass, whether it's Sebastian Noth, I'm going to butcher his last name, but there's talent already on this Baylor roster. Talking to Coach Woodson, I know they've got some players in the queue as well that they're not quite ready to announce, but they'll be there. The Bears aren't going anywhere. There's not a doubt in my mind. They will absolutely be back moving forward.
And Alex, you mentioned the name. My last question for you. I end this every time we bring in tennis analysts on, all 3 times, which again is a record, by the way, for local network radio in Central Texas. You don't get a lot of that, but I always end it on this because I think it to me has been really the most important part of this season and the glue part of the season. That's Michael Woodson and what he's been able to put together just in this 1 year with everything that he and the program have gone through between COVID, his being an interim coach, his not being announced the head coach until just 3 weeks ago. I mean, all credit in the world on my end to Michael Woodson, right?
Yeah, without question. And again, I try to give him as hard of a time as I can. But look, I got the chance to meet his family this week as well. And just like anyone who's got a family that lovely, you're absolutely going to enjoy. And again, it speaks to the quality of his character. It speaks to his competitiveness as well. That guy is a stone cold killer, and you want the killer on your side without question. That's why I try to keep him close, right? Because I don't want him to turn on me. I'm sure it is better to have him in Baylor green than to let him get away. That's why he's been named the head coach moving forward. No one, some may be equal, but no one is going to exceed his passion for the sport, his passion for his players. It's a testament to him that he got Adrian Boitan over the finish line yesterday in that singles match after what could have been. You don't want to play after you lose a national championship, but that's what we have to do here in tennis. Yes, I try not to praise him as much as I can because I know his ego is plenty healthy. But Coach Woodson's a stud, and the best is yet to come for the Baylor Bears.
I love it. I mean, Coach Michael Woodson is stoic. I think it's a perfect word. It's just that he's got that. I didn't notice, I guess, the way that he sits on a bench, which is so incorrect. But
but can I just say, he may be stoic, but don't confuse his stoic nature for a lack of passion, because that man he'll knife you to win. He will do whatever it takes.
Well, he, like you said, he's the one you want on your sidelines. He's the coach that if you're against him, you have so much respect for him, but you hate playing against him. And if you're on his sideline, 100%. You're probably feeling good. Michael Woodson's, I love that he's a Bear. Alex, our Bear Games question of the day today is centered around tennis again. They're inspiring us in every way now here on Uptempo. And today's is to celebrate Baylor men's tennis. We're letting all the callers and guests take them out to a restaurant and treat them to dinner. Where are you treating these Baylor Bears? Anywhere in the country, any restaurant out there?
Wow, that is an excellent question. Well, more than anything else, when I'm feeling down, when I've had a rough, span of things, and also I'll point out tennis journalism doesn't pay as well as I would like, I'm taking them to Dairy Queen. Those boys deserve some ice cream. They deserve a blizzard or two on me. Nothing. You're not going to be angry after you eat a blizzard, right? Like, hook me up with a cookie dough and I'm, cookie dough anything, and I'm going to be happy moving forward. And sincerely, ice cream is the food of celebration, and they really should celebrate this match. Now, again, it's Texas, so that's probably not going to fly, right? You got to probably shoot the animal that you're about to eat if you're a Baylor Bear. That's just how it works in that state. But no, they've earned the right to celebrate. They've earned the right to kick back and relax. And again, it was a fantastic season. I got to give you credit. I know I'm sure you get it praised on you all the time, but to highlight men's tennis, women's tennis, to highlight the sport in general, it means the world to us covering it, because it doesn't get the platform I think it deserved. And you are one of some who are offering that platform. And you mentioned it 3 times in a week. Are you kidding me? So sincerely grateful for you. If you want a blizzard, my friend, it's on me as well. Just make sure it's a small.
I love it. Somebody mentioned the other day you're jumping on the bandwagon. I was like, no, bandwagons don't last forever. This tennis passion and love does last forever. Alex, I think I'm glad you said Dairy Queen, because I do feel as though if you take him to a fancy steakhouse, Dickerson just stands up and gives us a good old Baylor, and it's over. You're kicked out. Everybody's gone.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's too noisy. You can't take him anywhere fancy. So it's got to be somewhere he can get kicked out of, and it's cool.
Jeez. Well, hey, Alex, hopefully when those guys in the queue come out, we can have you on again. I'll make any excuse at this point. Maybe the Baylor tennis team will do something cool or crazy, or Michael Woodson wins a game of checkers, and we can make an excuse to have all you guys on again.
It would be my pleasure. Again, thank you for all of your coverage. Sincerely, your tweet updates. There were times when I couldn't see what was happening because I had to hop on a press conference, and I was like, oh, okay, here's what I missed. And I love the analogies. I love your enthusiasm. It's everything college tennis is about. So anytime you call, I'll be here, my friend.
I love it. Always a pleasure. Thanks again, Alex.
Yep, take care.
Again, Alex Gruskin, the Great Shot Pod. I'm a tennis guy now. I'm a tennis fan through and through, not a bandwagon. I'm here to stay. I'm not leaving. I'm not flipping leaving. Armstrong's excited. Armstrong's giving me a big old fist pump. Armstrong's a big tennis guy now.
I will believe it when I see it.
Really? I've been to a few.
Here to say.
I've been to a few tennis matches. As long as Michael Woodson's the Baylor men's tennis coach, I am a Baylor men's tennis fan.
All
right. Andrew is too. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon today. Celebrity birthdays. This is the first time we've had in-studio celebrity birthdays with Armstrong Sims in 2 weeks. And Marquise. There's so much about today's celebrity birthdays that make this a special, special moment in celebrity birthdays history. That was good. I like the very appropriate celebrity birthday music. We turn it up just a little bit. I've learned that you can't hear it as well on the other, so it's loud in my ears, but then if you go back and listen to the playback, that it's not as prominent. Have you ever noticed that?
Is it just because you have yours really turned up?
I do have my ears really turned up a lot of the time. Yeah.
So you might be able to hear more intricacies than the average listener.
I am Smokey. Smokey turns his up a ton, right?
Smokey turns his up a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how that man still has hearing.
I think these are Smokies because Craig had been gone for a while. G-Eazy is how old today?
46.
Who?
G-Eazy.
Oh wait, no, yeah.
In the morning,
36. 36 sounds good.
40.
32. Queen
Gone the other way.
Queen Victoria of the Victorian era.
Of the Victorian era.
Sure, yeah.
When even was the Victorian era?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna go 120.
Okay.
120. 200.
202.
Ooh.
Wow.
Dang, okay.
We got Bob Dylan, who...
Sorry, I was just thinking about that a long time.
Bob Dylan sings that one song that... When the rain blowing in your veins.
Sure, yeah.
And
he also sings...
world
He sings a lot of
down your veins.
that sound exactly like that.
Make you feel my love.
I'm going to say 78.
That's a spectacular Bob Dylan impression, by the way.
You just know, and not only was that a good impression of Bob Dylan, you just covered like 30 songs at once.
Song. Run your face.
Killed 30 birds with one stone right there.
34?
74.
74. He's 80. Bob Dylan's only 80. He's got
Did
a while.
I say 79?
78.
Oh, okay.
He's got a while to go, man. Bob Dylan's here and here to stay. Just like me and my tennis fandom. They call me Bob. They call me Bob Dylan. John C. Reilly is how old today?
I don't know who that
is. I'm going to say he's 50.
Okay.
I'm going to say he's 53.
He's probably older. He's probably older.
56. Kiara, she sings the blood kiss, fire gone, you need
28.
someone to lean on.
Oh, 26.
Oh.
That's all right? All right.
Yep. Tracy McGrady.
Ooh, I know him. That's the first one I've known.
I know him.
40.
Okay.
44.
42. Joey Logano.
Don't know who that is.
Nope.
Race car driver. Joey Logano.
Oh, Joey Slogano.
31.
I know Joey Slogano. Yeah,
31. He is 31.
Really?
The fifth ever Preakness.
Dang.
C. Holloway aboard Cloverbrook wins in 2:45.
1908.
Nice.
I win the Wright brothers.
1898.
Is that 1908?
1877. World record. Pavo Nurmi runs world record 3,000 meters in 8:25. Pavo Nurmi.
I'm going to say 1891.
1901.
1926. 21-year-old Australian cricket master batsman Don Bradman scores 252 not out in a tour match for Australia versus Surrey at Kennington Oval, London.
Oh, 1953.
1960.
1930. You unconscious swine. Panic in Lima, Peru soccer stadium. 300 die.
1900.
Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah, that's dark.
300?
1964.
What has to happen for 300 people in a stadium?
Yeah, what happened?
Panic. It just
The
says
panic killed them?
It just says panic in Lima, Peru soccer stadium. Panic.
We need more information.
Panic's a guy, and he killed 300.
Oh, we're just ignoring this outro.
Panic kills 300 at the disco. I'm Drake Toll. That's Armstrong Sims, Andrew Roberts, and Jack McKenzie. We got Marquise Cooley, packed house, full studio. Alabama has won the national championship in college football. Wow. Stupendous. And Baylor won it in men's basketball. What a year, what a year. The door's open. We're all here in studio. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. This is a tennis show. I'm Drake Toll, and that's the rest of the guys. This has been Up Tempo Tennis Edition.